Okay.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we got about 2 minutes. 2 minutes.
Gotcha.
And we come live.
You too.
Good luck.
Let's go. Break a leg. A minute and 15 seconds.
Let's see, everybody's behind us. If we could just get everyone from that corner to come over here.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. What is going on?
Oh, that looks good back there.
Anthony I.O. is the most nervous man in the building.
Center here in Rock Hill, South Carolina for the 2024 ACL Teams Draft. 16 teams from across the country are here in Rock Hill to fill out their 16-player roster. The road to the 2024 championship begins here tonight. And we are so excited to bring you the coverage tonight. Thanks so much for watching here on Cornhole TV alongside Michelle Thompson and Wally Kassler and Anthony Allen. I'm Jeff McCarriger. Man, what a sight. We got a crowd behind us. We've got the podium behind us. We've got LED lights. We've got 8 cameras, the war room, producers, directors. I mean, we've come a long way from just 2 dudes on a couch a couple years ago, right? And poor Bernie split his pants. We were sitting on that couch for so long. But thank you so much for joining us tonight. I mean, this is going to be a long night. We've been waiting for this for a long time. It's time to put all the mock draft talk. All the talk comes to an end as pretty soon, just moments away from the Virginia Cutters being on the clock. So let's begin our coverage. We'll start with you, Anthony, and exactly what we're going to see this season. Just a few tweaks in the format this year for ACL teams.
Yeah, let's just start off with what is ACL team. So if I take everybody back to maybe where it all started for us in the backyard, what do we used to? We have that kind of 2v2 double style format. Well, of course, we have that in the pro division. We also have that 1v1 singles format, but we now have teams versus teams, just like any other sport, basketball, football, baseball, whatever. Now, how is this going to work? We're going to take the full field of 256 pros. Everyone's going to be drafted to 16 teams. If we look at the teams right now today, 6 players on every roster have rolled over from last season. So we have to fill 10 spots tonight, and we're going to do that through 10 rounds of drafting. Now, those teams are going to go into a regular season, and then we're going to take rankings into playoffs, where we will ultimately crown a 2024 ACL team world champion.
And there, as Anthony was talking, you could see the war room in the back, all 16 tables, and now with all of our cameras all over the place, we'll be able to keep track of what the teams and the captains are doing back there while they're making their picks. All right, Michelle, as we continue here, while there are some tweaks, there are still 16 teams from across the country. I mean, terrific teams, great swag last year. There was so much team chemistry, so much passion, but again, just to kind of remind everybody, it still will be the 4 regions this year.
Yeah, exactly. 4 regions, the American North, the American South, the National Central, and the National West. And then we also have that best of 7 series, but it only comes into playoffs. So this time in our team series, all games matter. So they got to get all those wins this season. The final 2 of each region make it to playoffs, and then it goes to best of 7.
All right, and finally, Wally, let's go to you again. It seems like we've been talking about the youth movement for this sport now for years. And this rookie class could be the best. I feel like we say this every year. This one could be the best one we've ever had. We could see, and probably will see, a lot of rookies drafted here early tonight.
Yeah, I'm excited. The daycare has let out, and these kids have come to play. So my mock draft, I have 12 out of the top 16 players in the draft, all 18 years and under. We got returning veterans, just teenagers, like Jacob Gore, Jackson Gore, Ian Cripps, Alex Hicks, and Isabella Soprenit. Also got some of the up-and-coming players like Sammy Soto, the USA Cornhole Juniors champion, Ryan Trader, Colby Shearer, Austin Cameron, or Caden Allen. So, yeah, the youth movement is here. They're excited. They're ready to play.
Yeah, it's alive and well. It's legit, and we're going to see a lot of them drafted tonight. And speaking of the draft, we'll take a timeout, and when we come back, we're going to get this show going. The Virginia Cutters, when we come back, will be on the clock. So will be the Commissioner Stacy Moore will join us with the opening remarks as well. So a lot more to come. Sit back, relax, as the 2024 ACL Teams Draft is just about ready to start.
Working. Mic's not working. Stacy needs a working mic.
And we welcome you back to the Rock Hill Sports and Events Center as we again are just moments away from kicking off the 2024 ACL Teams Draft. And again, moments away from the Virginia Cutters being on the clock with the first overall pick. We're going to hear from the commissioner just in a second as soon as we get everything figured out again. First round, a little bit of a change this year. Reverse order ranking ranked by the returning players based on their pro singles rankings. And so that's why the Virginia Cutters will be on the clock first. It looks like we are just about set here with Stacy to open up the 2024 draft. So Commissioner Stacy Moore, we'll send it over to you.
Thank you, Jeff. Hello, everyone. Welcome to our third draft. Thank you so much for coming out. Can you dig it? Let's go. Hey, it's been a short but an amazing offseason. Thank you so much for coming out. I'm so excited to be able to do this team's draft to kick off the season. Teams just keeps on getting bigger and bigger and better and better. We had our first ever executive summit this past week. We had our friends from Endeavor. You may have heard of Endeavor. They own the PBR. They own the UFC. They own WWE now, if you hadn't seen that news. They work with us to help us grow our league and continue to grow our team's format. We're so excited to have them as a partner, in addition to Matt Morantz, who continues to increase our storytelling and do a great job at content. And we've been busy in the offseason as well. As these trades are going down and this and that, we have added a new executive. We have our first female executive, 16 years at Major League Baseball. Please welcome Alicia Mullen, our Chief Business Officer. So please welcome her, get to know her well, and looking forward to another amazing season. With no further ado, Virginia Cutters, you're on the clock with the first two picks.
All right, Stacy, thank you very much. And yes, as you just heard, I mean, we have had a lot of trades. Anthony, I'll start with you. I mean, so the Virginia Cutters, we already all knew that they were going to be on the clock with the first overall pick, but now a last-minute trade. They're going to have the top 2 picks now. So this is going to be obviously a huge moment for them here in the next 4 minutes. As you can see, the clock has already started. Each team will get 2 minutes in between picks here in the first 5 rounds.
Yeah, I think we learned a little something from last season. We're seeing a little bit more strategy this time around. Even coming in days before, we were already seeing some things in the works, so it doesn't surprise me this is happening right now. To kind of make it a little bit more exciting, and the captain's using a little bit more IQ in this process.
All right, Wally, we've got just about a minute left here, but yeah, it looks like the pick is in already. But so the mock drafts, everything comes to an end tonight. Now we're going to find out. Who did you think was going to go first overall?
Well, I first thought that there's a connection between Logan Chamberlain and Sammy Soto, and Logan's going to be talking quite a bit in Justin's ear, so I thought Sammy might go number 1, but ultimately I caved in with everybody else. Jacob Gore, I think, with his performance last season, I think he could be the number 1 pick.
Mish, were you kind of thinking along the same lines?
Absolutely. I think Jacob Gore has to go first.
All right, it looks like actually the top 2 picks might be in already, and I kind of had a feeling, and Wally, I think you were kind of all over it, but these top 2 picks I don't think are going to surprise anybody. But, yeah, it looks like Virginia was not wasting any time making these trades and getting this thing started, not even needing all their 2 minutes. So, all right, here we go with the first overall pick of the 2024 draft. Let's go back down to Stacy.
I'm not sure what the DraftKings odds were on this, but with the first pick in the 2024 ACL Teams Draft, the Virginia Cutters select Jacob Gore.
All right, you guys were right on it. Jake Gore, just 14 years old, the first pick overall. And Wally, I guess probably no surprise, right?
Yeah, no surprise there at all. Again, just a phenomenal season last year. At the pro level in the Nationals, we kind of thought, I thought he'd fall off. No, that kid was phenomenal. Every single National kept doing the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, we had a chance to see him on national TV and really competed well. You know, that's the big thing that we talk about all the time is that once, you know, especially someone who's just 14 years old, gets to the national TV stage, how are they going to compete? This kid is just a competitor. I mean, he's a bulldog.
He proved that he can do things not just on the courts out there, but also on the courts on television under the lights.
Yeah, he was incredible. And I'm sure you were impressed too. I mean, just 14 years old, especially you and I having kids as well. I mean, I can't imagine 14 years old being able to perform like that.
Yeah, I'm actually not impressed by 14-year-olds anymore. They're all good. We've seen it for too many times. So, yeah, but no surprise there on that one.
So now with Jake being gone, I mean, are we still talking about, I mean, I'm assuming we're talking about rookies a lot here in the first round, right? I mean, just with the talent being so good.
Yeah, we have a deep rookie pool coming in. But, you know, you got to give the nod to some of these players out there like Alex Hicks and Jackson Gore who have a whole year under their belt. You know, it's much different standing up next to an elite-level pro, you know, on a broadcast versus what you might see out there in the amateur field. So I think that should come into play a little bit.
So again, the Virginia Cutters getting the top 2 picks, and they've got both picks in already. We just heard Jake Gore going number 1 overall. Who is number 2? Let's go back to the podium.
With the number 2 pick, the Virginia Cutters select USA Cornhole champion Sammy Soto.
Wow, congratulations to Sammy Soto. And Wally, let's go back to you. I mean, you were just talking about these guys, and sure enough, they're going 1 and 2.
Well, I knew Sammy Soto was going to go there. I was right. I'm always right. You guys should know this by now. But the crazy thing is, man, you look at this, we got trades all over the place basically because they're allowed to have the keepers this season. I think that plays an interesting factor this year with all these trades happening.
So again, there you see Sammy Soto and his stats out of Texas. And Misha, I heard you talking about earlier when we were watching some of the doubles action. How about the state of Texas?
Texas is unbelievable. And I have to say, Sammy Soto at the Rookie Showcase was unbelievable. He lived up to the hype.
All right, Jake Gore and Sammy Soto going 1 and 2. The New England Woodchucks are now on the clock. And Wally, this goes to what you were just talking about as we're looking down at who comes up next. I mean, the next, well, we just talked about the Virginia Cutters making the trade, but I mean, it's the Cutters, the Woodchucks, the Timber, and the Mays here at 2, 3, 4, and 5, all getting up there by way of trade. So you're right. I mean, that's been a whole new dynamic this year.
Yeah, this is something we didn't have last year. We had the captain and then their 2 assistants last year. This season, we get keepers. So these players, they can now be traded. There's only one person on the team that can't be traded, and that's the overall captain. But like we're seeing now, we got some big movers and some big shakers early at the draft. Let's see what happens next.
So again, the New England Woodchucks are on the clock. Colorado Timber will follow them, and then the Missouri Mays. That will be your top 5 picks overall. And it looks like the pick has come in, so we'll have it momentarily here for the New England Woodchucks. Again, right now on the clock. All right, Anthony, as we get things going, from time to time, we'll do this again this year like we've done the last 2 years. We'll have a best available. Wally, I think you've been kind of keeping track of that too. But are there some big names that you expect to come off the board here in the top 10 picks?
Oh, yeah, of course. I mean, I already said, we should be looking at these existing pros with the nod here. But if we're going to talk about some rookies, Caden Allen's out there. Jeremiah Ellis is out there.
Yeah.
I think those 2 guys, if we're talking rookies, are going to be coming up here real soon.
Mish, what about you? I mean, there's going to be so many rookies. Are there some current pros, some big names in the current pros that you think of that might go right away?
Well, I think Jackson Gore, right, brother of Jake
Sure.
Gore. I think that's one that you might see, and then I think the rest, rookies.
Yep. All right, let's find out the 3rd pick overall and go back to Stacy.
With the 3rd pick in the 2024 ACL Pro Teams Draft, New England Woodchucks select Jeremiah Ellis.
Out of the Mid-East Conference, Jeremiah Ellis. So Wally, talking about all the youth movement, now 3 for 3 here to start. Amazing.
I don't know why you're waiting. I told you. I told you it was going to happen, but I do think that Jeremiah is the best overall player in the draft. I don't think that a lot of the fans for the ACL have gotten a chance to see him just yet. I'm excited for this one. Good pick for the Woodchucks.
You had a chance to see him play quite a bit?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, we all saw what he did yesterday in singles, right? And I think that kind of was a big reason why maybe his draft stock got moved up a little bit. Sure. And then he made a decent run in doubles today with Hart as well. So did pretty well. We did the rookie showcase yesterday where he got to demonstrate some talents. We did actually see, if we look at the showcase, we actually saw players perform better in the showcase. But I think with a guy like Jeremiah Ellis, you're going to ignore these numbers out there and go, we know what he can do on the boards. I don't need showcase numbers to show me how good he is.
Yeah, I just actually pulled it up while you were talking about it. So yesterday in the showcase, for those who don't know, while we're waiting for the next pick, Caden Allen finished with the very top score. So I guess it looks like the highest score you could get, a perfect score would have been 1080. So Caden Allen had the highest score of 734. Sammy Soto was behind him. Logan Hall, Juwan Smith, and then Colby Shear. I had a chance to watch him quite a bit. He's a terrific player as well. So we'll see all those names, I'm sure, coming up. And, boy, they are just firing right now here in these first few picks, not even needing all 2 minutes. Let's go back to the podium with Stacy.
With the number 4 pick, the Colorado Timber select Caden Allen.
Well, we just talked about Caden Allen again in the skills competition in the combine, if you want to call it, yesterday.
Caden's not here.
Caden Allen finished with the top score, Mish, of all. I mean, you were there. You were running one of the stations. I mean, you saw some impressive play. So for Caden Allen to finish with the top score, that was a heck of a day for him.
Not just at the rookie combine, but last season he was winning opens. I mean, he was already on people's radar, and then he lived up to the hype again at the rookie showcase. So big pick there for the Timber.
So again, top 4, Jake Gore, Sammy Soto, Jeremiah Ellis, and now Caden Allen. And coming up next will be the Missouri Mays. Did I hear him say we have to take a break?
I think it's time.
All right, we will take a break and back with the Missouri Mays who are on the clock. It'll come your way right after this.
All right, guys. Who wants corn nuts? I'm kidding. Missouri Mays on the clock. Who's it gonna be? So seriously, quick question. Any surprises to you guys so far? question. Any surprises? Talk to me, class. Talk to me, class. Or not. What he said. Yes, our first captain coming to the podium. Please welcome Missouri Maze's own Ryan Windsor.
All right, right away the pick is in. The Missouri Maze on the clock. Let's go back to the commish.
With pick number 5, the Missouri Maze and Ryan Windsor select the baby goat, Alex Hicks.
All right, not a rookie, obviously, but still 14 years old out of Parsons, Kansas. So Alex Hicks goes 5th overall to the Missouri Maze. So again, if you're just tuning in, we've got Jake Core and Sammy Soto, who went 1 and 2. Jeremiah Ellis, a rookie, goes number 3. Caden Allen goes 4. And now Alex Hicks, number 5 to the Missouri Maze, as you take a look at his stats from last season. And then coming up next, the Colorado Timber, Kentucky Colonels, the Las Vegas High Rollers, Texas Bulldybaggers, and Arizona Burn will wrap up the top 10 picks. So away we go. All right, Wally, not to put you on the spot here, but I know during the break you had a chance to update your best available. So probably after the first top 5 picks are gone already, let's take an early look at your best available here as we go 6 through 10.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we saw Colby Scherer have a great run so far today. Vincent Frisch is a player who I thought could have been kept last year. He's still out there. Interesting to see if he gets picked up. Austin Cameron, I tried to mention him during the intro, stumbled across that one, my bad on that. But Jackson Gord and Braden Wilson out there. So still got some youth out there ready to roll. See who they go with.
All right, there it is. And Isabella Suprenant on that list as well. And you're right. I mean, Vincent Frisch easily could have been a player who could have been kept in that as well. So we'll keep you updated on Wally's best available. And again, coming up next on the clock is the Colorado Timber, and it looks like their pick is in as well. So we'll hear from the Colorado Timber. Again, this is a new feature this year for those of you watching on our live draft coverage. There's Yeti. Hey, Yeti. So we'll be able to check in on all the tables and see how everything's going. And once they start getting on the phone, this really starts to get tough, Mish, as you get. I feel like these first few, I mean, the first, 20, 25 picks might go fast, but we've seen this. It starts to get really difficult once you get, especially past the first 2 or 3 rounds.
You're going to see them take most of that 2 minutes.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Yeah, again, 2 minutes is what you get for the first 5 rounds, and then rounds 6 through 10 will be just 1 minute, Anthony. So, man, it's tough. I mean, when you get those 6 through 10 to have just 1 minute, they're going to be ready.
Yeah, and we're ready already here.
All right, let's go back to the commissioner with the 6th pick overall going to the Colorado Timber.
There have been a lot of trades going on already, it seems. With this is their 2nd pick in the first round. Pick number 6, Colorado Timber select Ryan Trader.
Oh, Ryan's so impressive. I got a chance to watch him a lot, Anthony, yesterday. So, yeah, I mean, the commissioner just said it. So with all the trades, Colorado getting the 4th overall pick and the 6th overall pick. So what do you think? Caden Allen and they pick up Ryan Trader. I mean, 2 huge picks here, really.
Yeah, I mean, coming into the weekend, I would think that there would have been some players that should go first. But I think Ryan Trader, again, another guy who improved his draft stock here, made a deep run in singles yesterday, right? Taking down a bracket. We saw him showcase his skills already on ESPN. So he's got, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 matches already under his belt on a broadcast as a part of the USA Juniors event. So the kid's really, really good. The kid's really, really good, and I think he deserved a first-round pick.
Yeah, and just 13 years old. So, again, Ryan Trader picked up by the Colorado Timber. Well, Wally and Mish, I mean, another thing that's going to develop we're going to start to see if maybe people can still grab natural doubles partners. And Wally, I'll start with you. A big thing that we've seen the last couple of years is bag chemistry. So I'm sure that's going to be a pattern we're going to start to see as well.
Yeah, bad chemistry, but I'm right there with you as far as all the partner swaps. I think I told Mish earlier, the number of teams that stuck together this season compared to last season is right around 15%, Jeff. Everybody has mixed it up in the offseason. So there's only like a handful of people that have an actual partner from last season, so I expect a lot of swapping this year.
Yeah, Mish, I'd be interested, on the other side of that with bag chemistry. Why, or maybe not even why, do you think that bag chemistry is going to be big as we go throughout the draft?
I mean, in one sense, they're pros, right? They
Right.
should be able to throw any bag. However, when you're on the broadcast under the lights with the pressure, you want what you're most comfortable with. So I like considering what kind of bags you're going to be throwing together.
Yeah, good point. I know that's a hot button for you as well, bag chemistry.
Yeah, I mean, these guys are getting so good at this point. I mean, you're seeing mix-up of partners. The elite guys can throw anything. You know, maybe it takes them a game to kind of adjust, but I think we're seeing bag chemistry. Back in the day, it seemed to be a big thing, but I think the talent is getting so good and so deep that they could swap from one bag to the next and be just as comfortable.
You know, one other thing I wanted to get to here real quick before we get to the next pick, which is going to be, I think it's the Florida Freeze. Yeah, Florida Freeze are going to be, Kentucky on the clock here with the next pick. Looks like we might have another trade as well. Is going to be the fact, and Mish, you touched on it back in the open, every game matters. So totally different format this year versus the best of 7. That's going to change everything.
Yeah, I mean, even how they organize the games, the orders, things like that, when you start to have every single game matters in terms of your team record at the end of the season to get to playoffs, I think it changes things.
Yeah. Well, you think so too?
Yeah, I think so, but I think that the new format is only going to be important if you can win the games. You could sit there and you could put together your best team on paper, but if it doesn't actually execute, who knows what to expect?
Yeah.
I don't know.
All right, so we do have another trade that has been pulled off. So this is now 5 trades.
Unreal.
In the top 7 picks, and that's exactly what you just talked about, Wally, too. I mean, with them being able to keep the 6, so we're going to see a lot of trades that we have. All right, let's get down to the podium and sort everything out with Stacy.
There was some back of the curtain action going on. We have the Kentucky Colonels have traded for Ryan Hart from the Florida Freeze. The Florida Freeze now have the number 7 pick. And with that pick, the Florida Freeze select Matthew Sorrells.
Surprise, surprise.
Wow, all right, so we figured, Anthony, that with Matt Sorrells coming back into the pro ranks and coming back into the game, that at some point, if he was available for the Florida Freeze, that they were going to grab him. Obviously, a guy from Florida. He's been down there. I think he's lived there his whole life from the Jacksonville area. But this comes early, right here at the top.
Comes early, no surprise. Looks like they had to do some stuff behind the curtain to make that one happen. And Matthew Sorrell's returning strong. I got to see him quite a bit this weekend. Leveled up his game, made some deep runs, matured a roll bag, which we didn't see before. Still has that sweet slide shot with a nice airmail. Definitely deserving of where he's at in this spot and a big pickup for the Florida Freeze.
Yeah, it's great to see him back in the game. I've talked about this before. He's probably one of the first guys that I met when I first started 4 years ago or whatever it was. Great to have him back in the game. Great personality. How difficult is it, though, to be out of the game, for a year or a year and a half and then come in and play at such a high level?
For me, when I don't play for a month, I suck. But Matthew Sorrells, if you've seen him this weekend, I don't know if you had a chance to look at him. Oh, my gosh, he looks like he didn't skip a beat. So he's going to be coming in strong, and not just as a part of the draft. I mean, watch out for Matthew Sorrells in the open pro division to make noise maybe within the top 25.
Yeah, he's really been putting in the work, no doubt about it. And there you see the Florida Freeze table, and the Las Vegas High Rollers now are on the clock. So again, if you're just tuning in, number 1 overall, the Virginia Cutters actually had the top 2 picks. So the Cutters got Jake Gore and Sammy Soto right off the top of the draft. 2 incredible picks. Then Jeremiah Ellis went 3rd to the Woodchucks. 4th was Caden Allen to the Colorado Timber. Missouri picked up Alex Hicks, then Ryan Schrader, and now Matthew Sorrells. I mean, Matthew's the old guy in this bunch, right? And he's like, what, 24 probably, 23?
Yeah.
That's the world we live in, Jeff.
Yeah, right? So, again, the Las Vegas High Rollers are on the clock. All right, Wally, any surprises yet? I mean, did you think that was a little bit high for Matthew Sorrells, or is that where you thought he was going to go?
No, I actually had Matt Sorrells going right around that spot. I actually thought he was going to go to the Carolina Coasters back when they had a pick high in the draft, basically because they like the TV experience. The Florida Freeze, We already know. Matt Sorrells, Blaine Rozier, they're all in the dock. They're all throwing bags on the dock.
Yep.
They're very familiar with each other. So this trade makes sense.
All right, and it looks like we have yet potentially another trade that's just been pulled off as well. So, Anthony, I mean, we have now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 trades in the top 10 picks.
So only 2 no trades?
Yes.
Is that what I'm getting here?
Well, in Colorado, technically, they ended up getting 2 picks in the top 10 here. So, technically, you've got 9 of the first top 10 teams that have made the trade. And it looks like right after Florida picking Matt Sorrells, Texas quickly made a trade because they wanted to jump up to that number 8 spot. So obviously they've got someone they've got their eye on.
Oh.
We already know what they're doing. We already know what they're doing.
Pretty sure that we all
I
know.
think I know what that one
We
is.
all know what this is going to be. So with the 8th pick, the Texas Bullybaggers did trade up. They want their guy/kid, and let's find out who this could possibly be. All right, Stacy.
All the action is happening behind the curtain. We have flip-flop picks between the Texas Baggers and the Vegas High Rollers. Vegas High Rollers also get the 3rd round pick from the Baggers. So if we're moving up, pick number 8, the Texas Baggers select Braden Wilson.
Not shocked.
Yeah. No surprise whatsoever in that pick by the Texas Bullybaggers. And again, just another excellent young kid that we're going to see a lot of next year. So, I mean, look at these young players. Jake Orr, Sammy Soto. Ryan Trader, who we talked about. Braden Wilson. The Las Vegas High Rollers will be next. So, again, no surprise whatsoever. While you talked about it, it was a big segment of ours right off the top with the youth movement. And sure enough, here he is, Braden Wilson.
It would have been blasphemy if Texas did not get Braden Wilson. I don't know what they had to do to get it, but it was going to happen. It was destined, predetermined. The second they heard draft, they knew they were taking Braden Wilson round 1.
Mish, you know what I love about Braden, too, is that, there you see, it seems like a typo, right? But just 11 years old. But he seems like a kid who's really mature beyond his years. I had a chance to talk to him quite a bit yesterday during the combine, and he really is. He's a great conversational and mature kid, a really, really good player.
He's very professional. Very professional. And also, when he's down or when he's in a round and things aren't going his way, he's so calm. He's not responding like you would think an 11-year-old would,
Yes.
When things aren't going their way. As parents, we see this, but Braden definitely has the composure to win.
So, again, 2 picks left here in the top 10 as the Las Vegas High Rollers flipping their pick. So, they were on the clock, and their pick is in. So, let's go back down to Stacy.
No trade this time. The Vegas High Rollers stick with the number 9 pick, and it's Jackson Gore.
All right, so Jack Gore gets picked up number 9 overall. Of course, his younger brother, Jake Gore, or his twin brother, I should say, Jake Gore goes number 1 overall. So both the Gore brothers now gone in the top 10, or in the top 9 picks, really. All right, Arizona Burn on the clock. We will take a quick timeout and wrap up the top 10 picks when we come back from the HQ here in Rock Hill, South Carolina, right after this.
Who am I missing?
The only request is that when Stacy makes the most useless guy in the building right here. we go 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2.
Center here in Rock Hill, South Carolina, as we continue with live coverage of the 2024 ACL Teams Draft. We are just about ready to wrap up the top 10 overall picks. The Arizona Burn were on the clock, and now they're off the clock. The pick is in, and right away, let's go back to Stacy.
With the number 10 pick, the Arizona Burn select Colby Shearer.
All right, Wally, hate to continue to beat this drum, but another one. I mean, Colby Shearer, he was so impressive in the combine yesterday. I had a chance to follow him quite a bit.
He was very impressive, but I'll tell you one thing that's impressed me the most is the way he's carrying himself around this building. Doesn't matter if he's talking to a teenager or a grown adult. He's walking tall. He's playing the part, and he is an ACL pro for a reason. Talent, skill, demeanor. Love it.
Is it possible when we look at these guys, I mean, when we look at Sammy, we look at Jeremiah and Caden and Colby, Ryan, I mean, is it possible to rank these guys at all with some that you might, I mean, like Sammy head-to-head against Colby or anything like that? Is it too early to know who the best of all these rookies are?
I think it's going to be one of these things, too. Last year we saw different regions play differently. So, when we went out to Mesa, Arizona, the boards were playing fast. So whoever likes fast boards could shine out there on the West. If they like the South a little bit, the humid stuff, Sammy, Colby, they got the advantage.
All right, Anthony, tough to really see any trends really developing other than the big one with the youth movement. But what do you think of these top 10 picks so far? Any early thoughts here on these?
Definitely youth, right? But I think we're seeing trades on purpose to build some regional bias here. I mean, we've seen a couple teams kind of pull that in. So I think that's the other trend we're looking at. And I really haven't seen any surprises, really. Maybe Colby going a little bit sooner, than I thought. But he's going to be in the next 4 or 5 picks. So nothing really crazy, but I think that's a trend for sure.
Yeah, Mish, I was going to ask you the same thing. Any surprises at all? Probably not yet, right?
Definitely not. However, I do think as we move into these next rounds, maybe we'll see someone over the age of 20.
They're running out. There's none left.
Yeah, at some point they will run out, yes. So again, if you are just tuning in, we are into out of the top 10 already, and the Michigan Marauders with the 11th pick overall are on the clock. So Jake Gore goes number 1 overall, followed by Sammy Soda, Jeremiah Ellis, Caden Ellen, and Alex Hicks wrapped up your top 5. Number 6 was Ryan Trader. Then Matt Sorrells goes to the Florida Freeze in a trade. Braden Wilson goes to Texas in a trade. And Jack Gore goes to the Vegas High Rollers. We just heard Colby Shearer going to Arizona Burn. And already the Marauders have their pick in. Let's go back to the podium.
With the number 11 pick in the first round, Michigan Marauders select Austin Cameron.
California Slingers, you are on the clock. California Slingers, you are on the clock.
All right, Wally, let you redeem yourself on this one.
Yeah, I can finally say it. Austin Cameron. And all I got to say one time, no stumbling there. He's my boy. Known him for a while. Proud of this kid. He's definitely earned the first-round pick. And I'm happy to see him happy.
It's great to see up there, right, with the hat. I mean,
Yep.
just like the NFL draft, they're all getting hats now
He
when
was
they come up on
one
stage.
player who elected to skip out of the showcase. So, maybe he didn't want to hurt his draft stock. He knew he was going to the first round. Don't even touch it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Stay there.
Chose to opt out of the combine.
I like it.
Yep. All right, so Austin Cameron goes to the Michigan Marauders. Now the California Slingers are on the clock. All right, Mish, you followed California really closely. I'm not sure if you've been updating your best available, but any thoughts where the Slingers might be going next?
I don't know. I didn't actually have any conversations with them to see where their mind was at with this, but they have a lot of good available players. I have to say, Logan Hall is someone that really stuck out to me at the combine yesterday, and then so did Juwan Smith. And I don't know if they've been following these guys, but they really stuck out to me. And Pat Sem would be a great pickup as well. I'm not sure if you got to see any of him yesterday. really great guy, great attitude, positive, and I think he'd fit right in.
Yeah, Pat Sem was really impressive. You know, Anthony, you had a really interesting station yesterday because for those who didn't see it, there were, 5 different stations? And it was basically a skills competition, but you were at probably one of the more critical ones with basically having to try and score and get around blocks at different levels. What did you see that maybe impressed you the most?
Yeah, that station we called playing the blocker. It probably gave you the closest feel to an actual game out of all of them. Pat Sem actually did really, really well.
Yes.
I didn't think he'd be able to play that one as well because he's kind of a down the middle, slick side, kind of that old school senior style game that we're used to. Insane airmail out of this guy. But I think one of the things we should be looking at up next is what do players demonstrate? And if we look at a Pat Sem, he's a guy who's taken down a world's advanced bracket. So not only do his numbers look good with PPR and stuff like that, but he's also getting it done in tournaments. And that's a key to these picks as well.
Jeff, I totally forgot about Vincent Frisch.
I was going to say, did I miss a memo or something?
Vincent Frisch out of
we
Cali.
We heard all season on every single one of Michelle's shows last year, Vincent Frisch and Adrian Brunson. Vincent Frisch and Adrian Brunson.
You're not wrong.
Now,
You're not wrong.
Cali has a chance to take Vincent Frisch. Nothing. Crickets.
It's kind of not my fault. He disappeared off my list. So bad on me. But no, it should be an obvious pick. Vincent Frisch. He was great last year in the PDC. He's going to be great this year. I think that California should take the Cali boy.
All right, the pick is in. The California Slingers pick is in. And we'll see if they stick with California, if they go outside the state. Let's go back to Stacy.
With the number 12 pick, the Cali Slingers select Logan Hall.
Whoa.
I love this.
All right, why do you love this, Mish?
I was not familiar with Logan Hall until yesterday, and I just told Wally, Logan Hall is so good. Why is he not on your top 10 list? And there they took him. I'm so happy with this pick. Let's go, Cali.
All right, Wally, you like that one too?
Logan Hall was a standout for me. All I heard in the offseason, you got to go after Logan Hall. He threw the canine bags during the qualifier and made it as a pro. So I had the question in my heart: was it the bags or was it the player? After the combine or the showcase this weekend, Logan Hall is a player. He's a baller.
You had a chance to see him a lot too.
Yeah,
I'm assuming?
let's talk about the showcase. So number 1, Caden Allen, take total score. Number 2, Logan Hall. So that's he belonged right up there. Same with me. Didn't know who the guy was coming in, but when you look at what he did on paper in that showcase, he slayed.
There is Logan Hall out of Charleston, West Virginia, 26 years old. A really good day in the combine yesterday. While we've got a minute, the Chicagoland Spinners are now on the clock. Mish, you were also at a station yesterday with the deck round. Who were some names that you saw that were really impressive at your station?
Well, Logan Hall was one that really, he got second after Caden Allen by just one bag. One bag, he would have been tied with Caden Allen, who everybody's been talking about. So he's on that same caliber. But Juwan Smith that I mentioned did really well. There's a lot. Jonathan Etheridge did really well. A lot of great players there, and so did Donovan Cicely? What is it? Sinelli, there we go. Was also great in the deck around.
Yeah, I followed him around. Pretty good player as well. All right, the pick is in, and Stacy's back at the podium for the Chicagoland Spinners. All right, Stacy.
Chicagoland Spinners wasting no time, getting the number 13 pick in. Welcome, Frank Verona.
All right, Frank Verona goes to the Chicagoland Spinners, and the Missouri Mays are now on the clock. All right, instead of the obvious question, because obviously, Wally, you were at a station as well, so we know the favorites, right? Was there a name or two that came through that maybe you didn't really know or that you weren't familiar with, and all of a sudden you're like, wow, this kid's good?
Pat Sem for me.
Yeah.
He's a local guy, I think, around here, but I've heard the name. Never actually got a chance to see him play at the World Championships last year, even during the qualifier. He kind of shined, but I never got a chance to actually watch his game. Seeing him face-to-face, in person, executing these shots, I can definitely see why people love him. And then we actually saw him play on the court. The personality is amazing. I love how he's having fun playing the game in the seniors division. Love it.
Anybody that stuck out for you that you didn't know other than Pat Sem, because you were talking about him as well?
You mentioned Jonathan Etheridge. He actually stood out for me as well. On play the blocker, he decided to skip strategy. I'm not going to try and push through or go around. The back half, he just said, I'm going all airmail. He hit 25 of 26 airmail to end that session. And I think he ended up like second overall in score. So he stood out to me as well. Not a pretty bag, nothing good technique-wise, but he was hammering airmail. It was pretty impressive.
All right, the pick is in for the Missouri Mays. We'll get that here in just a moment. Again, if you're just tuning in, Jake Gore goes number 1 overall to the Virginia Cutters. And by way of a trade, the Cutters actually had the top 2 picks and 2 incredible picks. They go back-to-back with Jake Gore and Sammy Soto, 1 and 2 to start out the 2024 draft. All right, again, Missouri Mays are on the clock. The pick is in. Let's go back to the commish.
Round number 14, the Missouri Mays select Vincent Frisch.
Defending champion Pennsylvania Ringers are on the clock. Defending champ Pennsylvania Ringers, you are on the clock.
All right, Vincent Frisch, Misha was just talking about him, goes to the Missouri Mays, and now on the clock, the Pennsylvania Ringers. And they say with teams that slow and steady wins the race, but it also wins championships. And during the long journey of the regular season, the Pennsylvania Ringers, led by Devin Harbaugh and Justin Burton Jr., defined steady, only losing back-to-back matches 1 time all season long, and a 1.18 out of 10 to march their way to the top of the American Division standings. But this wasn't just a 2-man team with names like Gage Landis, captains Matthew Creekkiller, Connie Altice, Tubby Smith, and, of course, just a little bit of good fortune. The Pennsylvania Ringers finished 2023 as world champions. The team with the most wins during the regular season survived 2 Game 7s in the postseason to lay claim to the championship trophy, and also grabbed a nice little chunk of change on the way home as well. So again, congratulations once again to the Pennsylvania Ringers. We were all there. We all had a chance to see it. The Game 7s that popped up, that was an amazing finish to the season last year.
Yeah, I think we had a number of, it felt like that whole session was perfect. They all went to Game 7. I know there was some strategy in the back to try and get them to go that way, but ultimately the match had to play out that way. It's always good to go to a Game 7.
Yeah, Trey Ryder and Kat might have had just a little bit of something to do with that, but still, it was an exciting finish to the season.
Oh, we prefer it that way.
Yeah.
We want the suspense. It was down to the last bag on those. I mean, it was so much fun to watch.
Wally, you were there. You saw it all. I mean, those Game 7s, we love it in all other sports, and the fact that we got in cornhole as well, what a finish. It was amazing.
Yeah, I would have been nervous, so I'm glad it's them and not me, because my bag would have been 3 feet in front of the board.
Totally. I'm just nervous watching it, talking about it. My part's easy. All right, so the Pennsylvania Ringers, the defending champs, their pick is in. Let's go back to Stacy.
Evidently, I messed up when I said round 14 or something last time. We are in round 1 still. I promise. Pick number 15 in round number 1. The defending champions, Pennsylvania Ringers, select Brady Foster.
All right, Brady Foster goes to the champions, the Pennsylvania Ringers. And let's take a break. When we come back, the Las Vegas High Rollers, by way of a trade, they will get the 16th and final pick of the first round. So we will take a break and back with the final pick of the first round of the 2024 ACL Teams Draft, live here from Rock Hill, South Carolina, right after this.
Anybody?
Probably. Oh, you want to do me since Bernie's got to do his? Yeah.
You're still on.
Yeah. Welcome back to the Sports and Event Center here in Rock Hill, South Carolina, as our live coverage of the ACL Teams Draft continues. And we are just about ready to wrap up the first round with our 16th pick overall. The Las Vegas High Rollers, by way of a trade, able to get into that 16th and final pick of the first round. So with this last pick, let's go back to Stacy.
With pick number 16, the Vegas High Rollers close out the first round, selecting ACL World Champion, ACL Player of the Year, Jordan Kamba.
All right, Jordan Campbell. Wally, you and I were just talking about this during the break. This, not a surprise, just with his connections with Las Vegas. So probably, pretty much an easy pick right now for Tanner and the High Rollers.
Yeah, no, I knew they definitely wanted them, Easy's partner this season, but I'm kind of surprised that they took him right now. They could have had him, I think, at pick number 23 overall. But, what talent are they missing out on right now to get a world champion like Jordan Campbell? I know that he's hungry, and he has a little bit to prove after last year.
All right, so that wraps up the first round. Again, Jordan Campbell going to the High Rollers as we welcome you back to our live coverage, and we also welcome in Bernie Neighbors.
Yeah. Everyone's going to love what I'm about to say, by the way. Everyone's going to love this. To your point, Wally, the V word.
Here we go.
Value.
Oh, boy.
Could you
Starts
have
already.
waited and gotten more value with that pick? Because, like you were saying, could you have gotten him in another round? I guess the idea there is let's go ahead and make sure we get
It's a
take
hard
care of
risk.
the partnership within the team. So I understand it, but is that the best value for that selection?
Well, kind of comparing it to football, if you're up next and somebody takes your pick right in front of you, you are steaming.
Sure,
The High Rollers didn't want that to happen.
absolutely.
Yeah, and that did happen last year a few times. Wally, I remember you talking about that, kind of giving us some. You were behind the curtain last year, so you were giving us some insider information. And there was a lot of that happened, some picks kind of being stolen, unintentionally, of course. All right, first
far as
pick
you know.
in the second round. As we quickly move ahead, let's go back to Stacy as the Kentucky Colonels pick is in.
With the first pick in the second round, pick number 17 overall, Carson, the Kentucky Colonels mascot, will announce the pick.
The Kentucky Colonels select Pat Sim.
Let's go. Okay, all right, so a lot to unpack here. First of all, the corn cob has a name, and his name is Carson?
Yeah.
Did anyone know this?
When you are Matt Guy's child and you are under the age of 18, you are forced to wear that costume.
I can't quite see. Is that who's in there? Oh, terrific. All right. So the Colonels pick up Pat Sim. And, Wally and Anthony, from everything we've talked about already in the first round, this has got to be a great pick. I mean, the way that he's performed the last 24 hours.
Yeah, second round, right? We're in the second round now?
Yeah,
We're
second
moving?
round, yep.
Jeez, it's going fast already.
Quickly.
But yeah, Pat Sim, definitely one of these strong players in the combine, like we talked about, out there throwing it on the floor. I like it.
You got to like this one, too. You talked about how much you were impressed by him yesterday.
Let's talk trends right now. What just happened? We picked up a Kamba and then a Sem. What type of players are they? Not the kind of players that we saw in the first round. So we are basically picking off all of those players that have a developed speed control roll game. Those guys are gone. So we're now starting to get into these slide bags, these airmail guys, and that's what you just got out of these two guys. So I think we're moving into different game styles right now, which tells me those game styles were valued higher in the first round.
Yeah, it was interesting talking to some of the captains yesterday, and bag style, and style of play really came up numerous times. There were some teams that thought that they didn't really have enough slide guys or didn't have enough roll bag players, that they really wanted. I mean, you and I talk about this on the podcast all the time. That's the future of the game. You have to have both. And I thought it was interesting that the captains today were going to be looking for players that have both those styles.
Sure. What I find interesting about this pick, and this is going to go forward, and I'm going to talk about foreshadowing. Let's just say some of the teams I think are trying. We talked about it before, regionalization of some of these teams. I think there are some captains back there that are trying to stay regional. I think this takes away a pick from another captain, and we'll get to that later. But there are, being a Carolinas region player, I wonder if the Coasters were kind of hoping he would have been a little bit later in this round.
Sure, yeah. All right, well, Michelle has left us at the table, but she has not left our live coverage. She is back in the war room. Hey, Mish.
Hey, it's crazy back here, you guys. You would not believe it. Yeti, are you stressed out?
Very much.
Oh my. So you guys just had a big trade there before that. Tell me what went into that.
So we talk as a team, and then we think we could, like, because we lost our second round pick, so we're trying to get our second round pick back, and we decided to trade Josh Holland for the Georgia Sliders second round pick and their fourth round pick.
So how are you feeling about the draft so far?
Wow.
It's fun, but it is stress as a captain. I'm very, very stressed out, since 2 weeks ago.
No, you don't want to get in on that. He's new to the team, and he's done. All right. Good job, guys.
Let me just play cornhole. I do not want to talk to you.
Well, how about that,
All right.
Bob?
What do you think of what Yeti just said with the trade?
You just traded Holland for a second-round pick?
Yeah.
That blows my mind.
Yep. All right, well, a lot to talk about. We'll talk about that more. The pick is in. Let's go back down to the podium with Stacy.
With pick number 18, Colorado Timber select Ian Cripps.
All right, so big pickup. Obviously, we all know about Ian Cripps and Wally. Again, let's go back to that trade. And you and I were talking about this yesterday. I'm a type of guy that I will take. I would love to take a player with a lot of experience, and I would give up draft picks. We were kind of making analogies earlier. In the NFL, Christian McCaffrey, remember a couple years ago, was picked up, traded from here to the San Francisco 49ers. They gave up the farm, gave up all kinds of picks, but they got a great player. So Josh Holland traded by the Timber for a draft pick. What are your thoughts on that?
Man, that is a bomb. I mean, I was on the board for Ian Cripps to finally get some love. So I love that they went up to get him. Giving up Josh Holland, though, that is a huge, huge shoe to fill. So can Ian Cripps do it? I believe so, but it's going to take another piece, and we'll see what happens in the fourth round.
Kind of your thoughts as well?
Yeah, I mean, now that I saw the pick come in, we're getting a pro. We're not getting a rookie. I mean, trading Josh Holland in for, the 12th pick as a rookie, I think that would be a bad idea. But you got a kid that's got some experience. If we look at the ranks, I mean, we know Holland's fallen a little bit, right? He was top of the food chain, top 10 guy. He's fallen to 60-something. You come in and you grab an Ian Cripps who's 35 maybe. So, and he's trending up, and he has that new style game. He's got a developed roll bag. He's got all that. So I actually don't hate it now that I saw the pick.
And Bernie, this, I mean, not something to be forgot. Well, actually, let's get to this pick, and I'll hold that thought, come back to you, though, is, just the different personalities behind the scenes as well. That has a lot to do with it sometimes with these picks. All right, so Ian Cripps goes to the Colorado Timber. After the trade, the Virginia Cutters back on the clock with another pick. All right, Stacy, back down to the podium to you.
Pick number 19, Virginia Cutters select Felix Vargas III.
The Virginia Cutters have been busy. So again, with the trade back earlier, just before the start of the draft, the Cutters were able to trade up and get the second pick. So they had picks number 1, pick number 2. They got Jake Gore and Sammy Soto. And now right away here to start the second round, they pick up Felix Vargas III. So the Cutters are right at it, busy out of the gates. And there you see Felix Vargas, just 19 years old, another terrific player out of the state of Texas. But Bernie, back to you. I mean, when you hear about some of these trades, again, something we haven't talked about that you and I hear a lot about is just trying to get, people to have natural chemistry to play together too. So we can't forget about that. There's a lot of that going on back there as well.
It does. It does play into the minds of the captains. I mean, Anthony, I'm actually going to share this question with you because I think, whether we've discussed it with each other, but it has been discussed on some of our shows, you're of the mindset, I believe, best player available, that's who you take, period, right? I wonder sometimes, you get deeper, you've already got 5 players on your team, plus your captain. As you get deeper, you've got to find someone that fits in your team. You're trying to build a cohesive unit, and sometimes maybe you take 10, 15, 20 places down in the ranking to find that player that you fits better, because really, 10, 15 places, are you talking about that much difference as a player? I mean, what do you think about that?
Should we go to the...
Yeah, let's go to the podium first, and then hold that thought. We'll come back to you. All right, back to Stacy for the Michigan Marauders.
Pick number 20 from the Michigan Marauders, Jamie Fincham.
All right, Fincham going to the Michigan Marauders. Now the Chicagoland Spinners are on the clock with the 21st pick overall as we continue here with live coverage in the second round. Okay, Anthony, I'll let you kind of respond to that. I actually kind of agree with you if that's your thought. I mean, I'm kind of a best overall guy too. I'm just not sure in the sport of cornhole how much your personal chemistry has to do with the person you're throwing against. I mean, if the best available player is out there and he's got a chance to win championships with you, I think I'm going with that guy.
Yeah, I mean, I think at the elite level, at the top 10 level, that's important, right? Every point is going to matter.
Sure. Yeah.
We're talking, 70, 80 players
That's
down?
what I'm saying. Yeah.
I don't know if it matters that much to me. I mean, I'm going to go for talent every time. Maybe you can mix your team up a little bit. You don't get along with that guy too much? All right, you're playing with this player instead.
Right.
A good captain might be able to figure out how to move his players around and also maybe get people to play together, build some type of a team chemistry as a captain. A good captain might be able to push through players that don't play really well.
What do you think about that, Wally? Because you and I have talked about that on streaming before.
Yeah, I mean, I think at this level you do have to adjust. A lot of the bags are becoming similar to it. I think that if you don't shine, for what we're seeing in this draft, boom, traded. Right. These captains are not afraid to trade right now. So they'll get rid of you real quick if you don't perform.
All right, the Chicagoland Spinners are on the clock. And, boy, these picks have been coming fast and furious. We've just been able to rifle through all kinds of these picks. Again, if you're just tuning in, Jake Gore went first overall to the Virginia Cutters. And the Cutters also with the second overall pick picked up Sammy Soto. So, again, Gore and Soto go 1 and 2. Both Gore brothers going in the top 10 as Jake went to Virginia and Jack went to the Las Vegas High Rollers. And, again, away we go here in the second round already. And let's go back to the podium and figure out the Spinners pick here in the second round.
With pick number 21, the Chicagoland Spinners select ACL College National Champion Angel Camarena.
All right, Bernie, you were the first one to make a comment.
I actually love Angel's game. Have had somewhat of an intimate relationship with some of the college players, watching them come up. We have quite a few now in the pro division. I like him as a player. Where he fits in on the squad, who he's going to play with possibly, I'm not quite sure, but I love the selection actually overall.
Just 22 years old, out of Columbia, South Carolina, of course a student at USC. All right, Wally, did you like this pick here for the Spinners?
I do like it. I mean, Angel Camareno's coming up pretty close on my list. He's one of these players who did do really well in the showcase. Obviously, we talked about it with the pick there from Stacy, the college experience. So he's got broadcast experience, overall great talent. But I'm telling you right now, Anthony put a chip on his shoulder based on where he ranked him. so Angel knows that he's got to show Anthony up now this season. So, Anthony, you got some fire in that man now.
I like it.
So, again, Angel Camarena goes to the Chicagoland Spinners with the 21st pick overall. Second round here in the 2024 draft. Another thing we need to do, next time we take a break, we'll take a look at it, but something we were able to do last year that we need to check on is how these rosters now are filling out. Because, again, totally different dynamic with the 6 keepers and the drafting 10. So after the next timeout, we'll see if we can pull that up and see if there's any trends developing and kind of get everybody back on the same page, because I've already lost track of who's on whose teams now with all these trades.
Well, let me ask you guys. I mean, maybe you've talked about this already. I was back there. I wasn't able to hear exactly everything you were saying. But how about how active the captains have been so far? Like, if you look at the last 2 years, were the captains totally invested in what was going on as far as how the trades went? I mean, it's out of control how many trades we've already seen so far.
Well, one different thing from last year is they had 2 assistants with them.
Right.
So, in other words, if you wanted to make a decision, you had to run it by 2 other people first. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Now they're on their own. I'm doing this whether you guys like it or not. I'm putting this person on my team. I'm making this trade. So I wonder if that's playing a factor or not. It's different.
You've talked about this a lot, buy-in. How much buy-in were you going to get after year 1 last year? Mm-hmm. Apparently a lot so far.
Yeah.
All right, the next pick is in, so let's go back to the podium with Stacy. Or with Trey, rather. Hi, Trey.
What was that, Jeff? Come on. All right, New England Woodchucks. I'm a New England sports fan, so I had to do the New England Woodchucks pick. First, I got to give a couple of shout-outs as we're here. I'm going to take up the podium time. First, big shout-out to Jack Geddes and Daniel Chacon for all of these great LED boards. If you guys give them a round of applause, they did a great job. And then second shout-out, they're absolutely killing it as producers. Corey Russell and Chase Hunter absolutely putting on an incredible show. So round of applause for those guys as well. Without further ado, second round pick number 22, the New England Woodchucks select Caleb Franklin.
All right, Caleb Franklin going to the Woodchucks, as Trey just said, with that 22nd pick overall, and that puts the Las Vegas High Rollers back on the clock. All right, let's take a break. When we come back, we will have the High Rollers pick as we continue with live coverage. Second round already here in the 2024 ACL Teams Draft. Back with more from Rock Hill right after this. Center here in Rock Hill, South Carolina, as we continue second round coverage of the 2024 draft. The Las Vegas High Rollers are on the clock. We just heard from Trey a few minutes ago. Caleb Franklin going to the New England Woodchucks. So again, the High Rollers next, and it looks like their pick is in already. So for the High Rollers, second round pick, 23rd overall, let's go back to the podium with Stacy.
With pick number 23, the Vegas High Rollers select ACL Senior World Champion Steve Schrader.
Schrader goes to Vegas. That puts the Carolina Coasters back on the clock. All right, Anthony, we like to go to you from time to time. We're starting to get to that point now, almost midway through the second round. We're starting to see some trends, and you've noticed a big one here so far as the women's side of the sport.
Yeah, where my ladies at? You know, we got a Rosie Streaker out there, had an amazing season. Isabella Soprenit still out there. 2 different styles of games, so they could fit a couple of different team styles. So I think we might get a lady coming up here soon, or at least I think it's deserving of a pick.
I agree. I mean, the fact that Bella's coming back, I'm wondering if that time off is just kind of clouding the minds of some of the captains, possibly, right? Like, it's like out of sight, out of mind kind of thing, but you're talking about an unreal talent. And when you look at the youth movement that we've already seen in this draft, it's kind of surprising that she hasn't popped up. But, look, the ladies, if you go back and watch some of the matches last season, ladies were making huge plays, huge bags in that tournament. Carolina Coasters, whose pick is up right now, you had a huge moment from the ladies there. Miranda Coy hitting a massive bag. So, it is surprising that we haven't seen a lady yet in the draft.
Well, the Carolina Coasters are on the clock. Their pick will be in here momentarily. And again, something that we like to do the last couple of years during the draft is kind of check in on the active rosters. And this year it's going to be a lot different because we've had so many trades. They're trying to update it as much as they can behind the scenes. But with the Carolina Coasters being on the clock, just quick update, Jamie Graham, Trevor Brooks, Eric Davis, Berkeley Pear, Chad Hunt, and Frank Modlin. As of right now, that's what their team looks like. And we're about ready to get the pick in for the Carolina Coasters. Let's see who they are going to add to their rosters. So again, with the pick in the second round by the Coasters, let's go back to Stacy.
All right, with pick number 24, the home team, Carolina Coasters. Welcome, team captain Dusty.
With this pick, we would like to pick no other than the Carolinas' Tommy Sliker.
This is risky.
All right, Tommy Sliker goes to the Carolina Coasters.
He does not care about the caution tape. Don't put that guy around a murder scene.
All right, so Wally.
Feel the Carolina Conference. Come on now, let's go.
All right, Wally, for Carolina, again, they've been through a lot of trades, so they don't have a lot of players to fill out their roster yet. They still have, just 7 now with them adding Sliker, but you got Graham, Brooks, Davis, Pear, Hunt, Modlin, and Sliker so far with their team. Probably too early to get any trends, but any thoughts on the Coasters last year or now going into this year's draft?
I mean, this one makes sense. I don't know if they had this pick or if they traded up to get this pick or down to get this pick. I can't follow the map anymore. But Tommy out here, you can hear it right there. He wants the love. He wants the love, even though he calls himself Tommy No Love Sliker. That name's got to change. He's getting a whole lot of love this week.
All right, on the clock, you can see the logo behind us. It's the Texas Bully Baggers, as their pick, I believe, is in already, so we'll hear from them here momentarily. But, all right, Anthony, you take a look at the Bully Baggers. You got Grindersleeve, Caleb Batson, A.J. Sims, Dylan Turpin, Kingfisher, Deb Odom, obviously, Braden Wilson, which was a pickup for them, probably one of the most obvious ones that we thought we would get after that trade. And then we'll see who they add. But a lot of Texas, obviously, with the Bully Baggers, something they really, I think, put an emphasis in last year.
Yeah, regional much? Yeah, that team is all right around there. And if you have a team around Texas, you know it's going to be a strong team. I think they're going to be really, really tough. I mean, where do you go with this next pick, though? I mean, maybe regional. There's not much regional left if you're looking at the best. So I think that we're going to see something outside of a regional on the next pick.
All right, and let's find out as the pick is in for the Texas Bully Baggers. And back to the podium.
With pick number 25, it looks like Davis Streaker's got to change his hat.
Let's see, Rosie Streaker for the Texas Bully Baggers.
Wow, yeah, so Davis is going to have to change the hat. So Rosie Streaker, you were just talking about some of the female players, Anthony, so sure enough, right on cue, Texas picks up Rosie Streaker.
Yeah, what are you going to get out of Rosie Streaker? You know someone that could be right down the middle and fill the hole up. Check this out. Rosie had a 9.73 on her entire pro season, so you give her an open hole and she's gonna find that one.
All right, so Rosie going to the Texas Bully Baggers on the clock. Right back to your guys, the Carolina Coasters.
One of the things that I really like about the Coasters, obviously you get world champion Jamie Graham. They went through some issues last season. Obviously they had some roster issues, stuff going on off the board, but you already get the trade pre-draft to get Frank Modlin. So you have that team set up with Jamie Graham. You have the team Trevor Brooks, Berkeley Pear, Eric Davis, another huge talent, Chad Hunt, who won a open doubles championship in this building last year with Jamie Graham. I think you're looking at a team, we talk about regionalization. I think you're talking about possibly a captaincy. They want regional players. Carolina's region is filled with talent. So I would not be surprised. Look, you're going to go for best available as much as you can. But if it's within, let's say 10 spots in a ranking, why not take a local guy?
Bernie, I'm out of Colorado, dude. If you try and stay regional to Colorado, you're not going to do so well. So luckily they're, Florida, Texas, maybe even the Great Lakes. These guys can build strong teams just in a small square, square radius or in a radius.
I was just going to say easier in some areas than in others.
Sure.
Chicagoland, Michigan, they can probably find a lot of players as well.
Yep.
All right, the pick is in already for the Carolina Coasters, so let's go back to the podium with Stacy.
With pick number 26, the Carolina Coasters select Austin Schlobaum.
This is Jeff's boy, by the way, guys. Jeff loves Austin Schlobaum.
Boy, he was just such a great college player, right? And still just waiting, and he and I have talked about this, and we all know this as well, just waiting for him to take that next step and have the greatness at the pro level that he had back in that college level. But no doubt about it, one of the top college players that we've ever seen. Just 22 years old still. See, he's one of those guys, Wally, right? Seems like he's been around forever. And when you look at the age there on the graphic, just 22 years old. He's got a lot of cornhole ahead of him.
Yeah, I actually didn't know it was 22 until I saw
didn't
that
either.
graphic
Crazy.
right there. I was
That
like,
is crazy.
Yeah.
that's not that's a man right there. That's a picture of a man.
So Austin Schlobaum going with the 26th pick overall to the Carolina Coasters. So the New England Woodchucks now are back on the clock. So speaking of New England, let's see if we can bring up their team because they do have quite a few names on their roster. Again, with all the trades, some teams still only have 7 players. I mean, they're going to have backloaded with some picks, but with the Woodchucks, Jimmy Humans, Jacob Trzynski, Storm Hogue, Alec Ryan. Remember, they were able to pick up him as part of that trade. Zach Scheibner, Michael Lucas Jr., Tyler Cobb, Jeremiah Ellis, and Caleb Franklin. So I tell you what, Anthony, I want to get your thoughts on the Woodchucks. I mean, that's, 8 picks right there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 or 9 really good players so far for the Woodchucks.
Yeah, what do you get from every one of those players except Jimmy Humans? Developed roll bags all the way down the list. Ty Cobb, Jeremiah Ellis, Zach Scheibner, Alec Ryan, Storm Hogue. These guys play a speed-controlled roll game. I'm not going to give Jimmy Humans any credit for a roll bag. He has a way to get over a pile, but I don't know what you call it. But, yeah, that team is stacked with speed control players.
Well, this is so funny what we see coming in behind us because I was like, we just saw the war room. Where is everybody? Well, now we know where they all are.
That's right. The pick is in, and now we know where they are because they're all behind us. All right, with the 27th overall pick, again, the Woodchucks are on the clock. Their pick is in. Let's go back to the podium with everybody else.
For pick number 27, the entire Woodchucks team wanted to come up and make the announcement. Take it over, Tyler Cobb.
With the 27th pick in the ACL Teams Draft, the Woodchucks select Hunter Thorson.
All right, the high rollers now on the clock. So Hunter Thorson is now the, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, the 10th player on the Woodchucks already. So again, Thorson, Franklin, Ellis, Cobb, Lucas Jr., Scheibner, Ryan, Hogue, Trzynski, and Humans. Good roster right now for Jimmy Humans.
Well,
Jimmy
Jimmy Rubens is a heck of a player.
He would be a great player, wouldn't he? Jimmy Rubin would be great. So the Woodchucks putting together a really good roster. All right, let's take a break, and when we come back, more live coverage here in the second round, live from Rock Hill, South Carolina. Back with more right after this. All right, we are back again. Beautiful views for those of you watching our live coverage online of the Sports and Events Center here in Rock Hill, South Carolina, as we continue live coverage of the 2024 ACL Pro Teams Draft. Alongside Bernie and Mish and Wally, I'm Jeff. Thanks for tuning in tonight. We are already halfway through, or actually about 2/3 of the way through the second round as the Las Vegas High Rollers on the clock. Their pick is in, so right away let's go back to the podium.
With pick number 28, the Vegas High Rollers are happy to welcome back Jay Dotson.
Missouri Mays now on the clock as Jay Dotson goes to the Las Vegas High Rollers. All right, Bernie, any thoughts on Jay going to Las Vegas? Any connections there with Tanner and that whole squad?
Kind of an OG pick, right? You've got guys that have been around the game for a long time. Jay Dotson, another player that's been around for a really long time. More of a personal thing for me, I love Jay Dotson. One of the guys I got to know first when I got kind of involved in the periphery of the sport. If you can get Jay Dotson playing in his A-plus game with the energy he brings in a team setting, it's a win-win.
Yeah, totally agree. All right, Wally, let's take a look. Misha, I think you've got it up too. So let's kind of check in with the Las Vegas High Rollers. Again, Tanner Halbert back there making the phone calls and making the picks. You got Tanner Halbert, Hunter Thorne, Cody Henderson, Eric Zockline, Jackson Gore was picked up by the High Rollers earlier. Kobe Costanza, Jordan Campbell was picked up also tonight. Steve Schrader just picked up, and of course, Jay Dotson. All right, Misha, what are your thoughts on the High Rollers here?
Pretty strong squad there, I have to say. I think that's a good little team. And I just have to say, after being back there, what's really fun to watch is when the player gets picked and they're all just there to greet them. It's just really fun to see the teams come together. I bet that one was a fun one.
Yeah.
I thought it was interesting. We were kind of talking about earlier when you were gone, but something that Bernie's talked a lot about is how much buy-in are we going to get last year and this year? Obviously a lot, and it seems like the nerves and the stress is pretty high back there.
Oh, it is. Oh, it is.
Yeti's comment to you was priceless. So.
Absolutely.
All right, the next pick is in. Let's go back to the commissioner.
With pick number 29, the Missouri Mays select Justin Duke.
Justin Duke going to the Missouri Mays. That puts the Ohio Aviators back on the clock. All right, let's wrap up the Vegas High Rollers here real quick first, Wally. We're just talking about that. Any thoughts so far on their team?
Yeah, one thing with the Vegas High Rollers, they were part of this whole trade shuffle that was going on. You look at the list, you notice one thing. They got more players than anyone else. So whenever you're talking about every single win matters towards your standings, they are loading up with higher-end talent compared to everybody else in the draft.
All right, so you like it then. You like what they've done so far then, obviously. All right, Bernie, Justin Duke, do you have some thoughts on that with the Missouri Mays?
And I was going to ask all of you guys and lady this question. We got to do the rookie symposium, if you will, kind of a combine. Justin Duke stood out to me. I had the airmail section. He was one of the top 3 or 4 players that I had all day go through there. What players do you got? Like, do you think the captains looked at that, looked at those scores, and really bought in and said, hey, all right, this person, we've got to go after them because this is what they scored in that type of setting? Do you think that's carried a lot of weight?
They were in the room. There were captains in the room watching. Not a lot of them, by the way. I paid attention to who was there. There was one captain in particular who was there the minute it started, and I was not surprised, and that was Mark Richards. But the other ones started coming in as the day went on, and I think it's smart.
All right, Wally, what about you? Again, you're running one of those stations. Any thoughts on Justin Duke?
Yeah, Justin Duke, I know Ryan Windsor wanted him from the get-go. I think he told Justin that he was going to take him in like the second round. So some of us, I believe Anthony had him going in the first round overall. So I'd hate to do this, but that's good value.
That is good value. There it is, the V word coming up again.
Please don't enable him.
We started it.
Please don't enable him. All right, let's go back to the podium. Stacy's got another pick for us.
With pick number 30, the Ohio Aviators select Ryan Tucker.
Arizona Bird, you're on the clock.
All right, and on the opposite side, Wally, the Ohio Aviators are going to be backloaded with a lot of draft picks. They only have 7 players so far. So Noel Monza, Trey Birchfield, Fisher Hamilton, Matt Abernathy, Gavin Cano, who they picked up in the trade, obviously, Carson Getty, and now they pick up Ryan Tucker. But still only 7 players so far.
Yeah, Ryan Tucker's pretty good value at this stage. Here I go again, doing the Bernie thing. Didn't mean to do it that time. He just rolls off naturally. But, yeah, I think the Aviators got to get going. It is one of these things. You look at all these other teams. Some players have or teams have 3 extra players on their squad. So I like what they did by getting Gavin to pair him up with Fisher, but you got to fill a roster.
Yep. But that too. I mean, I actually don't want to say it either, but when you're backloading your draft like this, you're basically saying, I think I can get the same level player value, but I can get 6 of them in a row compared to having to wait, and you're not sure you're going to get those players. So it's an interesting strategy.
Well, they have to be really, really smart. I do think there are still some sleeper picks out there. Misha and I, we did our mock draft. There's still some strong names out there, especially high PPR players. I'm wondering if they're about to start flying.
Yeah, hold that thought. Once the Arizona Burns pick is in, let's go to your top available players that are out there. We haven't had a chance to check in on that in a while. So again, the Arizona Burn are on the clock, and then right after that, the Pennsylvania Ringers, just because of all the trades and some of the picks, they've been a little bit quiet, but they're going to have back-to-back picks coming up. The last pick of the second round and the first pick of the third round. But first up, the Arizona Burn. The pick is in. Let's go to Stacy.
With pick number 31, the Arizona Burn select Chris Roybal.
All right, the Pennsylvania Ringers will have the next 2 picks, but Chris Roybal goes to the Arizona Burn. We all had a chance to see him yesterday. We were all talking about his throwing style. So, Mish, what were your thoughts when you had a chance to watch Chris yesterday morning?
Well, first of all, I knew Chris was going this round to Arizona. I mean, it had to happen. He's from Arizona, so I thought they'd pick him up. He's a great player. He's got one of the most unique throws I've ever seen, but it works. He's really, really consistent down the middle, so good pickup.
Yeah, well, that was something I noticed yesterday, just watching him, just with that motion that he has and that windup that he has, but he does it exactly the same every time.
It is the same every single time. It's like he's thrown it 3 times. Nope. Nope. Here it comes. It comes out. Yeah. And he actually shocked me because he doesn't really throw a hard bag. No. But at our push station, he was still driving through it. Very, very accurate for that motion. So he doesn't care about anything around him. He is going to throw his shot, however long it takes, to put that bag in the hole.
Yeah, I was standing right behind him, I think, at your station watching him. And you're right. It's just with that windup and with that motion, the release is so soft. But yet he's still able to really be consistent and push through the bags. That was really impressive to watch. I'm sure you had some thoughts when you were watching him on the airmail station.
I was watching the technique, and so obviously for me, I worry because there's so many moving parts. Like, are you able to, replicate that time after time after time?
Anthony counted.
Right, and so when pressure happens, is it that easy to continue to replicate that throw? But at this point in his career, a guy that's thrown that many bags, I'm not too worried about. Can't say Chris Roybal and worried at the same time.
It just comes together.
Yeah.
That's all right. I dropped a Jimmy Rubin, so we'll give you one as well. All right, let's go back to the podium with the next pick.
With pick number 32, Pennsylvania Ringers select Trip Baker.
All right, so Trip Baker with the final pick here in the second round. And again, the Ringers will also have the first pick in the third round. And it looks like both picks actually are in. So Trip Baker picked up by the Pennsylvania Ringers. All right, so while we're waiting for that second pick by the Ringers, we were just talking about this, Wally. Best available. You thought there were still some pretty good names out there, some pretty good players that we have not called their names yet.
I do. I think one of the best airmailers in the game, Mike Jaquez, sitting right there at the top. We just saw Steve Schrader go, his partner, Blake Karnick, one of those up-and-coming talents from last year. Bella still sitting out there. Who wants to take the risk? I do think one of the best sleepers in the draft, I'm saying it right now, all the captains are listening. Carter Bennett is out there. He could be a game changer for your squad. Statistically looking, Mark Burgess, Ricky Gonzalez, Juwan Smith, another standout from my station yesterday. I'm kind of surprised that some of these high PPR players are out here right now.
Yeah, I think Matt Stout quietly, he had a pretty good year last year, didn't he? So his name was on there. Misha, any names on there that, or any additional names that maybe you have on yours?
I believe Mark Burgess finished like 24th last season. Still out there. We're in round 3. But I have a feeling maybe Connie Altice, she was on the Ringers last season, and she's from that area. Maybe she'll go.
Yeah, I mean, Anthony was just talking about that, I think, before you rejoined us. He was thinking, we're at the time of the draft, we're going to start seeing some female players, and right away, of course, when Rosie wins. So, yeah, I wouldn't expect that it's going to take too long before we see a name like that pop up. All right, so again, the Ringers with back-to-back picks. We just saw them take Trip Baker, and now their first pick in the third round is in as well.
Starting off round number 3, the Pennsylvania Ringers with their back-to-back pick go with Brandon Valdivia.
Brevin's brother, apparently.
Yeah. Another set of brothers in the game. So Brevin Valdivia goes to the Pennsylvania Ringers, so I did not see his name on your list of best available.
No, I actually didn't even have him going in the top 5 rounds of the TV pick. So I think that one is a little bit early, but I do have to say he did really well at Nationals, especially throwing in the blind draw. That's whenever Baby Goat hit that sick penguin. So maybe he's a good coach as he coached Baby Goat to hit that shot. I don't know.
Well, let's take a look at the Ringers, Bernie. I mean, do you see, with Devin Harbaugh, Justin Burton Jr., obviously, Matthew Creekkiller, Landis, Cobb, Hunt, Foster, Baker, and now Brevin Valdivia. I mean, is this chemistry? Is this bad chemistry? Is this personality?
It's interesting talking about the Ringers. I did talk to Devin behind the scenes a little bit coming into the draft. Not the happiest about how the first 2 rounds played out for them as far as the number of picks they had a chance to get, where they were, how many players could go before they even had a chance to get 2 picks in. Now they get back-to-back. Now you're into the snake portion of the draft. With 1 minute in between, now things are going fast. Let me backstep a little bit. Once again, talking about our little combine we did, Juwan Smith was a player, and you had him on your list, Wale. He really stood out to me. Crushed it on the airmail side. I saw him throw on some other stations. I think that's a player that's going to help with whatever team he goes to.
All right, so again, the Ringers had back-to-back picks. They get Trip Baker and Brevin Valdivia. Next up on the clock, the Arizona Burn, and their pick is in.
I'll apologize. Evidently, I said Brandon instead of Brevin. My bad. With pick number 34, the Arizona Burn select Landon Crabtree.
All right, Landon Crabtree going to the Arizona Burn. And there you see Crabtree and his stats. And again, just 20 years old out of Bethany, Missouri. And again, a good PPR last year at 9.36. Another young player that goes to the Arizona Burn.
Another unique thrower, by the way.
Yes.
Island of Misfit Toys apparently is in Arizona.
Yep. For those that don't know, he does have a reverse spin on his bag. So it doesn't spin like you would normally see with a right-hander. It actually goes as if he was a left-hander. So it's interesting to watch him throw.
Yeah, we've seen that a few times, not very often.
Yep.
But all right, let's take a look at the Arizona Burn and get your guys' comments here so far. Ty Lopez, Doug Zaft, Derek Holland, Jeff Reynolds. Let's see, Moses Azueta on there. Florentino Mendoza, we saw him have really good moments in the playoffs last year. Colby Shear, Chris Roybal, and Landon Crabtree. So, Wally, 3 really good picks there, in my opinion, for the Burn.
Yeah, I think that was pretty good getting Landon right there. Landon is a strong player. Again, has the college experience.
Mm-hmm.
A great personality as well. That's something that's going to go well with her team. We saw last year they were actually more like a family than one of these ACL teams, so I think he'll fit in well.
Yeah, Mish, we saw it. Of all the teams, California was a good example. Obviously, the Carolina Coasters, Florida, they all had good team chemistry, but the Arizona Burn, literally, their team chemistry and their fire, especially in the postseason, was really fun to watch.
Yeah, not only do you get on the team, but you get on the group chat, and I think it's quite active.
Yeah.
So
well, we saw just in their meetings when they were trying to set their rosters. Just how intense it was, and how they were all getting together. It was really was fun to watch them play.
Yeah, I think you got to give a shout out to Athena Delgado on that. She was kind of a leader.
Sure.
And she kind of led them in that direction. She got everybody close. She was in touch with everyone, so everyone kind of followed in step with her.
All right, the pick is in. Next up, the Ohio Aviators. And Stacy, back to you.
Pick number 35 in the 3rd round, Ohio Aviators select Jeremiah Hector.
All right, Hector going to Ohio. And a popular pick for the Ohio Aviators and their fans. There you see Jeremiah Hector, 40 years old, out of the state of Georgia, and now a member of the Ohio Aviators. And next up on the clock, we've got the Missouri Mays.
Yeah, Jeremiah Hector, though, had a strong season in teams last year. I think he looked really good on the broadcast court. Jeremiah Hector's a pretty good pickup. He's got a diverse range. He was on the highlight reels quite a bit, hitting some ridiculous airmails early in the season.
Looks like the Mays' pick is already in, so we'll have that one here momentarily, and then we'll take a look at the Missouri Mays and their team as well. So again, Jeremiah Hector going to Ohio, and we'll get the Mays pick coming up next, followed by the Florida Freeze, and then the Spinners will be on the clock as well. Again, if you are just tuning in, wondering who went number 1 overall, we go all the way back to the beginning of the night as the Virginia Cutters had not only the top pick overall, but they had the top 2 picks overall. So the Cutters able to pick up Jake Gore and Sammy Soto with 1 and 2 overall. Rounding out the top 5, we had Jeremiah Ellis go to the Woodchucks. Caden Allen went to the Colorado Timber with the 4th pick, and then the Missouri Mays picked up Alex Hicks, and that was your top 5. 6 through 10, the Colorado Timber picked up Ryan Trader. Matt Sorrells went to the Florida Freeze. Texas picked up Braden Wilson. Jack Orr went to the High Rollers, and then Colby Shearer went to the Arizona Burns. That was your top 10. And we continue to roll along here in the 3rd round, and let's go back to the podium with Stacy.
Pick number 36 for the Missouri Mays. Welcome, Juwan Smith.
There he is.
Yep.
Not here.
All right, so Juwan Smith goes to the Missouri Mays. Big pick for the Mays. And next up is the Florida Freeze. And let's take a break, and when we come back, we'll continue again as we are live here in the 3rd round of the 2024 ACL Pro Teams Draft. More from Rock Hill right after this.
Pennsylvania Ringers traded Trey Hunt to the Georgia Flyers for a 3rd and 7th round pick.
All right, once again, we are back here in Rock Hill, South Carolina, as we continue with live coverage of the 2024 ACL Teams Draft, and we move along here in the 3rd round. Again, we just saw Juwan Smith go to the Missouri Mays, and the Florida Freeze now are on the clock. We're going to hear more about the Florida Freeze from Wally, but first let's hear their pick from Stacy.
With pick number 37, Florida Freeze select Blake Karnick.
That's a solid pick right there.
All right, that puts the Chicagoland Spinners on the clock. All right, Wally, more about the Florida Freeze, a team that you follow very closely.
Yeah, let's talk about the Freeze for a minute. Kind of like the Aviators, they need to start getting some picks. This is their first pick in the draft as they traded the 1st and 2nd pick for Alan Rawls. Alan Rawls, by the way, took down the singles championship here in Rock Hill, South Carolina yesterday. But their keepers are very impressive. They're bringing back players like Blaine Rozier, a top 50 player with a top 3 mustache in the game. Cheyenne Bubenheim, one of the best female players on the planet. This didn't age very well, but Ryan Hart was brought back. He had a broadcast experience through teams. We could talk about Chris Kingsbury, partnered up with Alan Rawls, also very, very strong player, finishing number 2 in the world, only to Jamie Graham. Jeremy Frazier, another player who's had a breakout season, teaming up with Cheyenne Bubenheim this year. I expect big things from them. Alex Rawls, the number 2 overall player of the season last year. If you put those 7 players together, combined, that makes them the strongest starting 7 in this draft.
Yeah, these really impressive names, Bernie. I was just looking at them here as Wally was just saying. So Alex Rawls, Cheyenne Bubenheim, Matt Sorrells, Chris Kingsbury, Jeremy Frazier, Blaine Rozier, Alan Rawls, and now Blake Carnick. So, I mean, that is an impressive start here to their roster.
Yeah, no doubt. Brain is really good, by the way.
Brain is good.
But
Extra
this is
special.
almost as good as Jimmy Rubin, but not quite. Not quite.
But once again, we're talking about regionalization, which I think adds a whole, how much fun is it to be on a team when you all know each other, you're all from the same region? You know, it adds just another depth to how, your buy-in, if you will, of the team, because you're all from the same region. It's so much easier, I think, for a player to say, yeah, I'm from Florida. I'm all in. Florida Freeze all day, right? I think it makes it so much easier to play. And like Wally's been a Freeze fan now for 2 seasons.
I just want a hat. I just want a hat.
Give a brother a hat.
Please, someone just give him the hat. All right, the next pick is in as we quickly move along here in the 3rd round. Let's go back to the podium.
With pick number 38, Chicagoland Spinners select Zach Engelken.
Carolina Coasters, 0 o'clock.
All right, Zach Engelken, picked up by the Chicagoland Spinners. And there you see his information out of Seneca, Kansas. 38 years old. Had a chance to see him on national TV. Terrific personal story. And while we're talking about Chicagoland, guys, let's check on their team as well. As you've got Mark Richards, Nico Morellis, Tyler Poitras. I mean, this is a good roster as well. Timmy Jonas, Jordan Kimbrell, Travis Purser, Frank Verona, Angel Camarena, who we saw picked up tonight, and now Zach Engelken. Sorry. All right, Mish, I'll put you on the spot here with Chicago. What are your thoughts on their roster so far?
I really like this roster. I think this is a strong squad. I like who they're picking up in the draft. We had Engelken on the Slingers last season, did really well. Got picked up pretty late in the draft, so I think this is a really good squad.
By the way, did you notice when she said Slingers, she said we had?
It's no secret. It's no secret.
It is no. But the big question is, do you have a hat?
I do not have a hat.
Oh, wow.
Where you at? Where you at, Slingers?
What is going on?
No
for
hats.
2. So we need a Freeze hat, and I know which hat.
I mean,
you
if
need.
anybody needs a hat.
Yeah, we know which hat you
Do you
want.
have a hat? Do you have a hat?
I don't have a hat. I like all the teams.
Well, now we need a different jersey as well. There's 2 different jerseys this season, so now I got to match the whole
Home
outfit
and away.
now.
Home and away.
Home and
That's
away.
right. All right. So again, Zach Engelken goes to the Chicagoland Spinners. So the Carolina Coasters. Your team. Do you have a hat?
I did have a hat from last season. I still
Whoa,
do.
he's the only one.
Yeah,
Oh, man.
check me out.
All right.
I got it on a really good discount, but I don't have one of the new hats.
Well, you're gonna have to get one.
I know.
You're still doing better than us, Bernie.
All right, there is the Coasters back in the war room. And Wally, this is what we talked about earlier, right? I mean, we knew that the first 20, 25 picks, maybe even getting into the second round, I'm sure everyone knew what they wanted to do. Now, like we saw last year, Mish, when you were following them around, now is when it really starts to get tough.
Yeah, there's not going to be any more quick 15-second picks. Now we got to go to the spreadsheet, see what the PPRs and the DPRs are, look at our team, figure out how we want to play this. These guys are deliberating really, really hard right here.
I mean, you can just see them right now all just pouring through. I'm assuming they're looking at names. And this also comes into play, you know, how much are they looking at the sheet that was assembled yesterday during the combine?
And, you know, it's funny. Jamie, one of the more cerebral players when you get him on the boards, right? And I think he's taking his captaincy the same way. He's thinking he's going to take as long as he can. He's going to think through every detail when it comes to these picks.
All right, the pick for the Carolina Coasters is in. Let's go back to Stacy.
With pick number 39 in the 3rd round, the local team Carolina Coasters select Ben Brown.
Speaking of DPR.
All right, there you go. 21 years old, out of the state of Kentucky. So Ben Brown, now a member of Bernie's Carolina Coasters. What do you think of that, Bernie?
Oh, you know, it's interesting because I do believe there's a concerted effort from the coasters to try to stay as regional as possible. You go and you get Ben here, so I'm wondering what the relationship is. You know, is it style of play that they're already thinking, all right, this is exactly who Ben's going to play with? You know, is that the thought process? Is it, you know, like style of play? Is it, you know, is there a friendship level somewhere in there that we're not really sure of? So I'm curious about that pick, to be honest with you.
Well, with Ben Brown, you get the best and the worst, the same guy. This guy at national number 1, I think, finished dead last, but then we saw his talent remarkable against Jake Brandon in the pro qualifier.
Wow. Yep.
You got to see every single thing this man brings to the table. Backside airmails, good rolls, blocks, controlling the game. If you get that version right now, phenomenal.
Yep.
So again, Ben Brown to Carolina, and now on the clock, there you see the Las Vegas High Rollers. So many trades. And again, just had another trade just moments ago, but now the High Rollers have moved up to the 40th pick overall. This will be the 8th pick in the 3rd round. So we'll hear from the Las Vegas High Rollers. And I'd like to check, I'm not sure we checked in on Tanner's team with Las Vegas, see if we can check in with him. So you got Tanner, you got Hunter Thorne. I guess we did, yeah, because Cody Henderson, Easy, Jack Gore, Kobe Costanza, Jordan Campbell was picked up, Steve Schrader, and Jay Dotson have been their pickups so far. As you see the Spinners happy about their last pick as well.
It's all fun back there, Jeff.
Oh, this is,
it's a good time.
Stressful
Back in
and then fun.
The war room's a good time
well,
right now.
it's good and bad. So you got the when someone gets picked, it's fun, it's light, and then the other tables are just in complete terror as they're in the stress of picking their next player.
It really is great. I mean, a huge shout out to Corey Russell and to Chase Hunter behind the scenes, our producers, putting together 8 cameras on our coverage tonight, really stepping it up from when you and I started out on the red couch.
By the way, I ripped another pair of pants.
Well, you had to, Bernie. It's what you do.
Tradition.
So Bernie has now ripped his pants in 2 of the first 3 drafts that we've ever had here in the ACL.
I got to make it happen.
All right, the next pick is in. Let's go back to the podium.
With pick number 40, the Vegas High Rollers select Hunter Claxton.
All right, that puts the Colorado Timber now back on the clock as Hunter Claxton goes to the Las Vegas High Rollers. All right, Wally, what are your thoughts on Vegas here? Again, we just went through the names with Tanner Halbert and Hunter Thorne, Cody Henderson kind of leading the way with that. Eric Zockline, former partner for Tanner Halbert, a lot of chemistry there between those two. Jordan Campbell with a lot of chemistry on that team, and now Hunter Claxton.
Yeah, I like the pairings with a lot of these guys. You can actually see how they're going to pair up and throw on the boards. You know, we talked about mixing and matching your roster with familiar, partners, or getting somebody new and just trying something, throwing it at the wall, see if it sticks. Hunter Claxton did not really shine for me in the showcase, though. So I'm not sure if I would have gone this route this early. I mean, I think Hunter Yacklin was out there, and I think he was one of the best players in teams last season. So.
Yeah, we've got a minute, so I hate to put the Corey and Chase on the spot back there. I don't know if you guys want to fire that graphic up there, but I'd love to see your remaining. We haven't had a chance to check into that for a while, but your remaining best available out there, and maybe some other names that you're surprised with that we haven't seen come off the board yet.
Yeah, again, same name, still sitting there on the left side of the screen. On the right-hand side, I added Dan Glogowski, one of these strong players. Basically known slick side game changer right down the middle, high PPR guy, plays really, really smart. Ricky G still out there. We got a lot of experience on the right side of the board. Nick Petuski sitting out there. I mean, we got basically some OGs right now, I think, getting overlooked.
Yeah, Matt Stout, Petuski, some pretty good PPR guys.
I think Bella Soprennett still being available is a shock to me. And you have to start to wonder, are people concerned about what happened last season going into this season? Is that
I think
on their
if
minds?
Bella shows up here this weekend, she's already off the board.
100%. 100%. 100% agree.
That's the big question mark, is how much is she going to be available this season. So, and I'm not sure, even though she is going to be available, I'm not sure how many people know that. So word probably needs to spread out there, and you're right, she'll probably be off the board. All right, let's, speaking of picking names off the board, let's go back to the podium with Stacy for our next pick.
With pick number 41, Colorado Timber select Nick Petuski.
All right, Wally, there you go. Just 18 years old, out of Waterford, New York. And you just mentioned his name, and just like that, he comes off the board.
Yeah, strong player, two-stepper when he throws. I mean, that's the weird technique that he delivers, but he's good. The kid's good. He's got all the shots, experience. He's not coming in this, green. He knows how to play the game. I like this pick from the Timber this late.
All right, Mish, what do you think about Colorado? We've had a chance now to start pulling up some of these rosters and take a look at as they're starting to fill out. But Yeti Irwan, Derek King, Adam Hissner, Justin Doss, Eric Anderson, Ian Cripps, good pickup, Caden Allen, Ryan Trader, and now Nick Patuski.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of young players.
Yeah.
That's for sure in the pickups that they did here in the draft. But, you get Caden Allen, you're already ahead. I mean, great player. And then Ryan Trader, also another great pickup. And then Ian Cripps. It's weird to call him a veteran.
Yeah, right.
At how old?
Yeah, seasoned veteran at 14.
Yeah. And then that pickup right there with Nick, I think this is a good team.
Yeah, I really like this. You like this too? I mean, just the last four here with Cripps, Allen, Trader, and Patuski.
100%. Nick Patuski, another thing to think about was some of the young players, if they had a chance to go through USA singles, right, and they had a chance to get on the broadcast court, because not everyone gets that opportunity to kind of get that under your belt. To already have that experience, it's not going to be your first time when your first time on teams is on that court. So I think that's a huge advantage in a player like that as well.
Right. So Nick Patuski going to the Colorado Timber, and the next pick is in already as the Las Vegas High Rollers on the clock.
With pick number 42, Vegas High Rollers select Kaylee Hunter.
All right, so Kaylee Hunter going to the Las Vegas High Rollers. I think that's another really good pick for Vegas. And we all know Kaylee, one of the great young female players, just 21 years old. And I guess, Mish, that's another thing. So we've only seen, I think, 2 female players so far, right? Rosie and Kaylee come off. I would assume we're going to start seeing a lot more of those names popping up here shortly.
Connie's got to go soon.
Yeah.
I think Connie did well last season. I think she should definitely be going soon here in terms of the women, as well as Miranda Coy and Gina Ramirez. Gina Ramirez was a standout in the shootout, and this is a round-limited format. So I think
that's a great point.
I think that's another good one.
When does Arizona pick again?
Yeah, that's true. Where's Arizona?
Let's see where Gina's going.
Yeah.
Oh, they don't come up for a while.
That might still be able to happen. We'll see.
Looks like they don't come back up until the 4th round. So who knows if she'll be available.
Is it just me, or have the Vegas traded away or traded for everybody's pick right now?
They're almost done. Vegas.
Yeah. Right. Tanner wants to go eat some food. He's done.
He's had it. I'm out of here.
Yeah. So Kaylee Hunter again goes to the Las Vegas High Rollers, and the next 2 picks here as we continue to move around in the 3rd round. So picks 11 and 12 here in the 3rd round are both going to go to the California Slingers. So we're going to find out a lot about the roster for Cali coming up right now as Stacy has made his way back to the podium. So the first of 2 back-to-back picks here for California is in. And now we're ready. All right, Stacy.
All right, we got back-to-back picks here. The Cali Slingers Brain Trust is up here on the stage with us for picks number 43 and 44. Take it over, light skin.
All right. We got my partner, Ricky Gonzalez. Let's go, baby. Come on down. Yeah.
There he is.
So Ricky Gonzalez, one of the 2 picks. There is another. I don't know if they're going to announce them both back-to-back here or not, but Ricky Gonzalez, obviously a natural pick here for light skin as they start to fill out the roster here for the California Slingers.
And with the 44th pick, they made me take my boy. Dean Norton, come on down, boy. Yeah.
There we go. There we go.
He picked his new partner and his old partner.
All
his
right.
ex and his new boo.
They got terrific, yes. Oh, he's got to be happy about that. So Ricky Gonzalez and Dean Norton both going to the California Slingers. All right, Mish. Obviously, this is a team that you follow very closely and have a lot of passion for, and 2 huge picks for them.
Absolutely, and the Cali Slingers were an absolute threat last season. 2nd in PPR, 3 players in the top 50, with all players in the top 100. Amazing team players like Peter Zazueta and Nick Williams, not to mention MVP and team captain Tony Smith, #1 player in the world. This team bought into the team concept. Last season, they worked well together thanks to players like Corey Gilbert, Lightskin, with a show-out performance in his television debut, proving that he can hit peak performance when it matters the most.
And again, an exciting moment for him, picking up Dean Norton and Ricky Gonzalez. All right, let's, while we've got a minute, I think we got a minute here. Let's take a look at the Slingers. For those who aren't familiar with the roster here so far for 2024, again, you mentioned many of the names, but Tony Smith, Corey Gilbert, Nick Williams, Peter Zazueta, Phil Lopez, Kyle Malone, Logan Hall, and now Dean Norton and Ricky Gonzalez. How you liking your team?
I'm not mad about it.
All right.
I'm not mad about it. No, they've got such great vibes back there. So, they had the trade for Kyle Malone. I think that was a good pickup. And then Logan Hall, and these two, it's looking good.
I'm going to say that.
All right, that brings the Michigan Marauders back up to the podium with Stacy.
All right, for the 45th pick, we got up here with us Jordan Power to announce it for the Michigan Marauders.
To the guy that brought me in the game and taught me how to throw bags, Mike Jacquez.
Georgia Sliders, you're on the clock.
All right, the pick in for Michigan, and now the Georgia Sliders back on the clock. All right, we have not had a chance, guys, to talk too much about the Marauders. Joe Neested, Jordan Power, Mike Ferreira, Jeremy Schermerhorn. Some really big names with the Marauders. Again, interesting, and you mentioned this earlier, Wally. There are some teams that have really filled out a lot of players on their roster. The Marauders only with about, eight players or 9 players so far.
Yeah, they're 9 good players, though. The Marauders last year, they took this approach where they drafted pro partners together. The first 4 teams that they had all had their pro partner. Did not work out well for them. So mixing it up a little bit, taking people that they're familiar with. Let's see if they decide to go back to that strategy or if they just throw it against the wall and see whatever happens.
I was going to ask you guys, that brings up a great point, because we've gone through this now with a couple of drafts, right? Like certain teams are taking the approach, I want to get pro partners, and then some captains are saying, whatever, I want best available. Is the evidence kind of leaning toward best available if you really look, at how the ringers were put together, for example? You could look back a couple of seasons ago where it didn't work out putting partners together. I think the slingers were better than the sum of their parts because they chose that route, and I'm wondering if that's going to happen again. I think Michigan, like you were saying, I think they a little bit of a letdown last season. I think if you were to ask them, they would say they probably didn't play as well as they would hoped. But that's just an interesting argument, I think.
Yeah, I think if you go that way, you could start reaching sometimes because you're trying to fill the theme. You have a theme going.
What are you not getting with certain players?
Look how cute this is. Let's keep doing it.
Yeah. What are you not getting with certain players when you do that?
Yeah.
All right, the Georgia Sliders pick is in. After the Sliders, we'll have the Pennsylvania Ringers and then the Kentucky Colonels to wrap up the 3rd round already. Let's go back to the podium.
With pick number 46, the Georgia Sliders selects Tice Cobb.
Pennsylvania Ringers, you're on the clock.
All right, that puts the Pennsylvania Ringers back on the clock as the Sliders pick up Tice Cobb. And, of course, out of Mississippi, just 19 years old. Again, he's one of those players that seems been around for a long time and just 19 years old. All right, what are your thoughts on Tice Cobb here going at this point in the draft?
Tice Cobb, strong player, bad finish last season. We talked about it when we had him on our show, Bagging and Bragging, 8 o'clock on Eastern on YouTube, by the way. Make sure that you guys check that out. When we talked to them about this, we knew that there was a different version of Tice Cobb coming. Cameron Belvin not going to mess around. He has got to throw well. And you got Noah Wooten, everyone now. It's a family on that squad. It's not just players. It's a family on like the Sliders are doing.
All right, let's talk about this. Look at some of these names for the Georgia Sliders as we start to fill out their roster. Noah Wooten, Cameron Belvin, Ryan Smith, Bobby Hunt, Terry Mathis, Duncan Clemmer, Ryan Wiedenfeld they were able to pick up in one of the many trades, Josh Holland, Trey Hunt, and now Tice Cobb.
If you're just going off name recognition, you've got to feel really excited about the Georgia Sliders. Now, how do they get them all to play together? How does that work out? How does the chemistry work within that unit? Not really sure, but if you're just going off names, you've really got to like that squad.
Ryan Wiedenfeld, Josh Holland, some names, Mish, they've just been able to just pick up recently in trades. I think Georgia's putting together a pretty good squad.
I think best available works really well if you have a strong leader. I think a
100%.
strong leader is what makes a team. So I think you can get away from having to reach for pro partners and things like that if you can get a really cohesive team from a really strong leader. And I think Noah Wooten can do that.
Wally, what we're also starting to see, and this is probably a topic maybe when we have a little bit more time, but what is the most important part of the team? Because they all have superstars, right? All 6 of the players who were keepers are all going to be your top 100 players, top 96 players. But then is it the bottom? Is it the middle? Like where is that most important part of the roster? Because you obviously want depth, and right now it looks like Georgia's got pretty good depth on their team.
I'm not going to lie. I absolutely love what the Georgia Sliders are doing. And I think the most important part for having a team is being able to listen. You got a lot of egos in the pro division, and Noah Wooten is one player who will be able to tell you what to do and what's going to happen. But he does it with a kind heart. Like, he's got a certain way of delivering things that most people might not understand. But what he's doing right now with this squad, I think he's got a good little squad going.
I'm sorry, what'd you say?
Yeah.
Oh, something about being a good listener. That's right. All right, the next pick is – thank you, Brady. Thank you.
Somebody had
All right, the next pick is in. Let's go back to the podium.
All right, with the 47th pick in the draft, the Pennsylvania Ringers select the Midwest Killer, Matthew Troxel.
They put their new player out there to
Yeah, I saw that.
announce it.
I like the nickname. All right, 33 years old, out of the state of Missouri, Matthew Troxel. So goes to the Pennsylvania Ringers, and that puts the Kentucky Colonels on the clock. And again, gotten to the snake portion of the draft, so Kentucky actually will have the next 2 picks here, Bernie. They'll have the last pick. Hard to believe, last pick already, the 3rd round, and then the first pick of the 4th round coming up for Kentucky.
Well, it's almost, you're bringing it to me, and I almost want to bring it back to the table. If you're a defending champion, how much pressure is on you? Like, you won, and we see it in other sports all the time. When you are defending the crown, it's very hard to get back sometimes. I mean, even if you've got a great number of players, and we've seen, the super team that they have with Devin and JBJ, but it just seems like there's so much pressure to repeat, right? I mean, and I'm curious with the way they're going about it. Like, do you feel that they are the leader in the clubhouse? Because the team that just picked before them, you start going through the name of the Georgia Sliders kids. I'm kind of leaning that way right now, even though I'm obviously a Carolina Coasters fan at heart, being regionalized as well, but I'm kind of liking that Sliders team right now, and I'm curious what you guys think about the Ringers and what they're putting together.
Yeah, I think the Ringers, they kind of got a little bit of a tough break, having to switch out from Jacob Foreman, because whenever they got the draft order determined, they went off of where the standings were at, you know what I mean? So losing Jacob Foreman early kind of puts them at a disadvantage. We talked about it with Justin Stranger and the Cutters, being at a disadvantage going into the draft last season. And the Ringers are in that same exact situation. I think they're making the most out of what they got. I just don't have the same wow factor that I did after their draft last year.
100%.
Well, again, the pick is in for the Kentucky Colonels. They will have back-to-back picks to wrap up the 3rd round and get us going on the 4th round. And we have not had a chance to talk too much about the Colonels yet, filling out their roster. Only 8 players so far, but they're going to fill out 2 names right here. And Stacy's ready. Let's go back to the podium with their picks.
All right, to close out the 3rd round and open up the 4th round for the Kentucky Colonels, welcome Brett Guy.
For the 3rd round, Kentucky Colonels are taking Carter Bennett. Then for our 4th round pick, we're taking Anthony Mayball.
All right, so the Colonels adding 2 here at the end of the 3rd and the beginning of the 4th. Again, Carter Bennett and Anthony Mayball going to the Kentucky Colonels, and we'll break down their roster when we come back. Quick break here from Rock Hill, and back with more as we continue with live coverage of the 2024 draft right after this.
Bernie Neighbors.
Already, as we welcome you back to the Rock Hill Sports and Event Center here in Rock Hill, South Carolina. We just saw the Kentucky Colonels go back-to-back with their picks. Again, the last pick of the third round, and then the first pick in the fourth round, again taking Carter Bennett and Anthony Mayball, and the Colorado Timber now on the clock and apparently off the clock. Their pick is in, and with their pick, let's go back to the podium with Trey Ryder. Hi, Trey.
All right. I get called for this one because I'm the only one backstage that knows how to pronounce this. The Colorado Timber with pick number 50, Caleb Medenka.
Don't look at it, just say it.
Yeah, no L.
It's like McCarriger. Don't look at it, just say it. All right, Caleb Medenka goes to the Colorado Timber with the second pick in the fourth round. Good job, Trey. All right, let's not forget about the Kentucky Colonels, guys. We have not had a chance to really break down their roster too much. Bernie, we were just talking about it before we went to break. So Matt Guy, Brett Guy at the top of that roster, obviously. Damon Dennis, Sam Finley, Justin Rule, Kimberly Glass. So there's two of the female players that we were talking about. Ryan Hart, Pat Sem, I think we all agree was a really nice pickup by Kentucky earlier tonight. And now Carter Bennett and Anthony Mayball. So Kentucky, obviously disappointing season, Bernie, last year. But what are you feeling about the roster so far here for 24?
Once again, I think captains are trying best they can to stay regional, like going and getting a Ryan Hart in that trade, trying to bring someone, especially who had a tremendous second half of the season, kind of came into his own in the pro division, trying to stay as Kentucky-centric as they possibly can. I think you got to hope for more from that squad. I mean, like if they're all being honest with themselves, they underperformed last season, so I think they're trying to kind of get back to where they think they should be coming into this season.
Yeah, that was a surprising finish last year, I think, for all of us because, we really, I know there's a lot of people, as soon as the draft was done, that thought they had a really strong roster. And looking at their stats from last year, Anthony, they went 4-11 overall and 42-63 in all their games combined. So obviously a disappointing season. We'll talk more about that in just a moment. But first, back to the podium with Trey.
With the 51st pick in the 2024 ACL Pro Teams Draft, the Virginia Cutters select Jonathan Etheridge.
All right, and we've got a lot to talk about with the Virginia Cutters because they've been busy tonight as well. But first, let's kind of wrap up the Kentucky Colonels. Anthony, I was just talking about their record from last year. Obviously want to improve on that this year. What do you think about their move so far tonight?
Yeah, actually coming out of the gate last year, I had the Colonels second, I believe. We were grading them A, B, C, D. I had them at like an A minus.
You weren't alone.
Yeah. So it just really looked good how they built the team. But I think getting Ryan Hart out of the gate was really nice. I think there's a natural partnership here with Pat Sem and a Damon Dennis. I think they play a very similar game. I saw Pat throwing ultra bags in the showcase, which Damon Dennis is now playing. So I think there's a natural bag match there just to kind of stay with the same brand. But yeah, I think picking up a Carter Bennett, I believe coming out of the PDC, now has a little bit of experience playing against pros, playing in pro events. So, that deep in the draft, getting some experience out of the PDC could pay off.
Can I keep you talking, Anthony? Because I got their opinion when we were talking about the combine when you were taking a break. What did you think about that, and how much of an impact do you think that has on what the captains are doing back in the war room?
After the pick?
Sure, yeah. We can go to the pick first. Trey is making his way to the podium, so we are just cruising along here in the fourth round already. The Marauders on the clock, and let's go back to the podium.
With the 52nd pick, the Michigan Marauders select sharkbait Sarah Cassidy.
There she is, Sarah Cassidy, out of Florida, going to the Michigan Marauders. And, this is another topic. We'll hit you on a couple here, Anthony. As soon as you get back on desk, now we're just going to hit you. But, we were talking about when are some of these top female players going to come off the board. Here's another one now. Great pick.
Yeah, I think we saw that last year. I felt like a lot of the women fell down in the draft. And I think it was the Colonels, if I remember correctly, who came in and swooped up a lot of these female players in later rounds, and I thought that that's where that might pay off, but we didn't see that happen. But yeah, good to see Sarah Cassidy go. We know she's one of the best female players in the league and can compete against the boys as well.
Right, and now back to your point that you were talking about before the pick.
Well, just, I mean, like, and the whole time yesterday going through all that, I was like, who's loving this? Anthony Ione is loving this process.
He was geeking out on the combine.
So I'm curious, what is your opinion? Like, how much value do you think the captains were putting on what they saw in that combine?
Yeah, I thought where it really coming to play is maybe the rookies that weren't so known. Caden Allen could have went in there and blown the showcase, and he still would have went in a top 3 or 4 rookie, you know. But a guy like Jonathan Etheridge, who I think just went in a couple picks ago, I thought that his performance might move him up a little bit in the draft. He absolutely dominated. I mentioned earlier, he hit 25 of 26 airmail in that showcase and scored really well. So, it came into play in some times and then it didn't in others.
All right, the Chicagoland Spinners pick is in. Let's go back to Trey.
To announce the 53rd pick, please welcome Tyler Poitras of the Chicagoland Spinners.
All right. With the 53rd pick for the Chicagoland Spinners, we have Jay Corley. Jay Corley.
Jay Corley, veteran, 34 years old, out of Virginia, so he goes to the Chicagoland Spinners. And I know we touched on this a little bit earlier, but Anthony, I don't think you were out here when we were talking about Chicago, but I don't know if you have much thoughts on the Chicagoland Spinners and how their roster is starting to fill out, but it's impressive also. Obviously, the names at the top are big, right? You've got Mark Richards, Nico Morales, Tyler Poitras. Great to have him back, obviously, and watch him play. Timmy Jonas, Jordan Kimbrell, Purser, Verona. We saw Angel Camarena get picked up earlier. Zach Engelken, and now Jay Corley. So any thoughts? You see anything, any trends there for Chicago?
What I like about this team is it's not as flashy as some of the other lists, but there's a lot of talent in here.
Yeah.
A Jordan Kimbrell, I think, who can come out and play with the elites. Travis Purser, a lot of people don't know about him yet. He's in his sophomore year, but he's a guy that can come in and take down big players. Verona, people are going to really know what he can do. I think he might be able to crack like a top 30, 35 player. Might not see him coming. Angel, who continues to level up. So I'm listing these people that the nation might not even know off of first name. And what's crazy? Jay Corley, a guy who we're all familiar with that name. He's been around a long time, being picked this late in the draft. So it just goes to show how tough the talent is with a guy like Jay Corley falling down in the picks.
All right, we continue to move along here about midway through the 4th round already, and the Ohio Aviators pick is in.
With the 54th pick, the Ohio Aviators select Mike Hoffman.
All right, Mike Hoffman going to the Ohio Aviators, and the Las Vegas High Rollers now will be on the clock again. This is interesting. Bernie, I'll send this one down to you. I mean, just kind of an overall question about what we've seen. I don't know if they are more prepared this year with lists and with best available, but I feel like the picks are really coming in fast. Like they know exactly what they want and who they want.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I think there's a lot of conversation between the captains and the players, and since you gave me this, I'm actually going to bring Mish in on this one with me because I think Sarah Cassidy going, 3-4 picks ago, I'm wondering if the Florida Freeze were waiting and trying to get value and trying to get her and then maybe throw her with a Cheyenne because they were really good as partners last year in teams, and I wondered if that backfired waiting. Do you think that was a possibility? Maybe they were waiting?
I would think that Cheyenne would play with Frazier since that's her committed partner and
Sure.
he's also on the team, but it's very possible they wanted to pick up another Florida player in Sarah. I wouldn't have waited that long. I think that's pretty risky. But what's surprising is, I said it before, but Mark Burgess, top 25 players last season, still out there. I mean, do people just not know? I'm not really sure, but and then another person from the rookie combine, Ernest Cisneros. I don't know, at least the duck round, he did really, really well, just straight down the middle.
He was good in the airmail as well.
Okay, so there's another one.
Yeah.
So and Jaime Sanchez, wasn't he top 40 or? A little surprising to see these names still out there.
All right, and again, to the point that we were just talking about, I mean, these picks just continue to come fast and furious, so everyone prepared, everyone knowing exactly who they want. So let's go back to the podium again.
With the 55th pick, The Las Vegas High Rollers select Matt Stout.
All right, so Matt Stout is definitely a name that I think it was Wally. We saw it on his best available. We saw that name stick around for a while. So Matt Stout finally comes off the board here with the 7th pick in the 4th round, as he now is going to be the newest member of the Las Vegas High Rollers. So that'll bring us to another break. Again, we are at the halfway point here of the 4th round. Live coverage of the 2024 ACL Teams Draft here in Rock Hill, South Carolina. And we'll have a lot more right after this. And back here in Rock Hill, South Carolina, we are halfway through the 4th round. Our live coverage will take you all the way through the 5th round, and then we'll sign off. And rounds 6 through 10 will basically be rapid fire, about 1 minute, actually be exactly 1 minute in between each one of the picks. Right now, still 2 minutes in between each one of the picks, but the teams haven't needed it. Quickly, during the break, the Colorado Timber knew exactly who they wanted, and they picked up Connie Altice. That's a name you were just talking about. I think we were all kind of surprised that her name stayed out here that long.
Absolutely. Like Anthony was saying, the women tend to go a little bit later than they probably should. She did well. She performed well. She's a high PPR player. I think that that's a good person to have on your team.
Yeah, absolutely. And then 2 picks ago, Matt Stout. I mean, he's a guy who was on Wally's best available for a while tonight. I know he's a player that you like as well.
Yeah, he's been on my best available for a while. We're 150 picks in. We're talking about a guy who finished 80th in the league, you know, with a 9.45, well above the average. So expected him to go a long time ago, so that's a big pickup for that squad.
All right, and another pick is in. The Texas Bullybaggers back on the clock, and we go back to Trey.
With pick number 57, the Texas Bullybaggers select Ernest Cisneros.
Oh, a popular pick there for Texas, it sounds like. So Cisneros, 37 years old, out of the state of Texas. And guys, this is, I mean, what they've been doing, right? I mean, last year and this year, just taking players from the state of Texas and filling out that roster.
I thought maybe they'd go Jaime Sanchez, but I was just talking about how good Ernest did, so I don't think it's surprising. But Jaime also being, you know, out of Texas.
Yeah.
Maybe they think they're going to pick him up in another round. I'm not sure when their next pick is going to come up, but good pick up there.
Well, Mish, let's stay with you and take a look at your best available. Obviously, we're just talking about Matt Stout finally coming off the board and Connie Altice coming off the board. Texas with their pick. The Carolina Coasters will be next, and then the California Slingers, your team, will be on the clock as well. But all right, so who are some of the big names out there that you still maybe are surprised about, or who you think we'll see come off the board soon?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I mentioned Jaime and Mark already. Also, another player from the rookie class, Evan Vanos. He did very well. He's an ultra player, playing with Eric Sherney this season. He did really good. I mean, I was even looking at other stations just to see, kind of following, and he's doing well everywhere that I was looking. You've also got a Nate Boyer out there. You've got Miranda Coy, who really showed up at the back half of last season, carried teams that she was with. So I think she's also a good pickup.
There's some big names on that list. We'll hit that more here in just a moment. But first, again, back down to the podium.
With pick number 58, the Carolina Coasters select Cameron Holland.
All right, Bernie's Carolina Coasters picking up Cameron Holland to add to their roster. But Anthony, I want to get some comments from you on Misha's best available. Still some big names out there. We saw Nate Boyer now that's popped up on our list as well.
Yeah, I mean, we're starting to get deeper into the rounds. It might be, like some more regional bias or players that people know locally. And I know I was back in the trenches listening to some of the discussions, and I heard some names of players that I kind of saw in the showcase I didn't think anybody else knew. And it's like, oh, this guy plays at my club, and no one knows how good he is. So I think we're going to see some names coming up that might not be on that board that people know how good they are just from local play.
If I can jump in here, and you were talking about Evan Banos, and you were talking about his scores on the airmail, he was the highest one I had. So, I mean, like if combine matters, that is a kid that absolutely lit it up.
Yeah.
Player I didn't know a lot about.
That's what I'm saying. I didn't know a lot about him.
Lit it up in the combine.
All right, we are just about set for yet another pick as the clock winding down here on the California Slingers. We have not had the shot clock come into play too much, it doesn't seem like tonight, but getting down to it here for the California Slingers, that their pick will be due up next. Again, Cameron Holland going to the Carolina Coasters. So this next pick here by Cali will be the 11th pick here in the 4th round. Again, we'll stay on the air here through the 5 rounds, then we'll sign off, and the round 6 through 10 will be off the air. But again, these teams are ready to go and filling out their rosters really quickly.
There's a rookie out of Cali who didn't come yesterday, who's a very strong player, high PPR. And I'm wondering if Cali might steal him here. They could maybe get him later since he wasn't here yesterday, but see if Michael Nunez comes on the radar.
Okay. A name that is still out there and available. We'll see. And let's go back to the podium with Trey.
With the 59th pick, the Cali Slingers select Brandon Martinez.
All right, so not the name you just mentioned, but Brandon Martinez picked up by the Slingers, 30 years old from the state of Texas.
Deck around. So you see the 110 there. He was a top 5 in the deck around, so I'm not sure what you guys saw on your stations, but he definitely showed up in mine.
He did really well. He did really well on my station, but here's what stands out on this guy, and it's not going to be in that graphic right there. A guy who made it to the pro division through the pro qualifier, getting through that gauntlet, getting through those 800 players, those 32 guys who ended up, and gals that ended up in the pro division getting to the qualifier. I think that raises, them up in the draft. I'm surprised a guy like this may be going this late. But again, if you're not well known, sometimes those guys fall through the crack.
Yeah, for sure. All right, another pick is in. The Florida Freeze on the clock. And let's go back to Trey.
With pick number 60, the Florida Freeze select Andrew Labrador.
All right, so another big name out there, and Andrew Labrador goes to the Florida Freeze. Interesting, because you were talking about Sarah Cassidy. Was Florida trying to wait, to hope they could maybe get her here, and maybe she was stolen 8 picks ago. I'm not sure. All right, so again, Andrew Labrador goes to the Florida Freeze. Next up, Anthony, the Missouri Maze.
Yeah, the Missouri Maze, led by captain and OG ACL Pro Ryan Windsor, had a strong 2023 season, making it to the semifinals, losing Game 7 to the Arizona Burn in that best-of-7 playoff, finishing 3rd overall. Now the Maze are looking to build that 2024 team around Ryan Windsor, Isidro Herrera, Stephen Bernasette, Jalen Jones, and a strong up-and-comer Ethan Walker. And the Maze looking to add strength. They had those 2 first-round picks today in the draft after trading Gavin Cano to the New England Woodchucks.
All right, so the Missouri Maze, and while we've got just a minute, we're waiting for Trey to come out with the next one. How about the Maze? Let's take a look at their roster. Having a chance to look at it in a while. Ryan Windsor, Isidro Herrera, Stephen Bernasette, Ethan Walker. I mean, this is a pretty nice roster, guys. Jalen Jones, Alex Hicks, Vincent Frisch, Justin Duke, you guys really liked, Jawan Smith, and the next pick as well. So, I mean, that's a pretty good roster so far for Missouri.
You know what stands out the most to me about all of this, and we've talked about it ad nauseum over the last couple seasons, just the depth of the pro division.
Yeah.
I mean, the names you go off of, every single team, amazing depth in the ACL Pro division.
All right, let's see who the next pick is now for the Missouri Mays.
With the 61st pick, the Missouri Mays select Damon Reynolds.
All right, Damon Reynolds, Anthony, going to the Mays. So, I mean, just look at these picks. Alex Hicks, Vincent Frisch, Justin Duke, we were just talking about, Juwan Smith, and now Damon Reynolds.
Yeah, so this is one of the picks I was talking about that people won't know as well. And I was talking to a team in the back, Ethan Walker, saying, you know, this guy is legit. He threw like a 10.1 in the pro qualifier. So how does a guy who gets through the pro qualifier throwing a plus 10 end up this deep? It just might not be known as well. And you might have the Mays over there going, let's sit on him for another round. I think we can get him later. And here he is. They went ahead and snagged this guy. He could be dangerous.
I think that's such a good point. How, like, in the world of cornhole right now, how difficult is it to get through the qualifier, and yet some of those names falling through the crack when they've proven they can get through one of the most difficult tournaments that we have in the game?
Yeah, I mean, look at the ways that you qualify. You know, rank those. You know, I'm going to put the pro qualifier really, really high. Maybe open right behind that. You know, I know there's other factors that go into that. But if you get through that gauntlet and you prove yourself in this building through 800 players that come here to compete, to me, that's going to rank higher than anything else getting into the pro division.
You know, we talked a lot right at the outset of this broadcast about the youth movement, and we'll hold that thought for just a moment. But I'm still seeing some names that we saw yesterday in the Combine that still have not been picked yet that I thought maybe we'd see at this point. But first, let's go back to the podium as the next pick is in for the Ohio Aviators.
With pick number 62, the Ohio Aviators select Evan Vanos.
All right, thanks, Trey. Well, that just popped my bubble on that because that's one of those top names that we saw, right? I mean, he really performed well yesterday.
He did. That's a great pickup. You saw 104 in the deck around. That is in the very top of that. Not a lot of players over 100 there. Very impressive.
Well, see, that's actually a misleading stat. It had 78 for his airmail. That was just on the outside. So you add a 75 to that on the inside. He was lighting it up on the airmail. So he was. But we've seen him play. I've seen him play in this building before in juniors, and so I think that's good value this late in the draft.
Well, and he finished. I mean, the reason why I brought this topic up is because I was looking down these names. I mean, he finished 9th overall in total score in the Combine yesterday. So I was surprised that his name was still out there.
Something that might not show up on the stats just from talking to some of the guys. You know, with this player, you're going to get someone who stays calm. He's pretty chill. That's not going to show up in a stat. But he's a guy that can get in a pressure situation, do really well. And again, another guy getting in through the pro qualifier. So we're seeing a string of pro qualifier guys getting picked up now as good picks.
Yep.
What was your guys' thoughts yesterday on Donovan Sinelli? He's a player who I followed a little bit. I thought he was pretty impressive, and I don't recall. I don't think we've heard his name called yet either.
Not
yet. So there's quite a few rookies that we could still see as the night goes on. All right, we are getting down to the end of the 4th round, and with the Arizona Burns pick, let's go back to the podium.
With pick number 63, the Arizona Burns select Tyler Parent.
Surprise over Jaime Sanchez. Is that just me?
Yeah, you're going back to the Cali pick, or if you go back to the Cali pick, they passed on him, right? I mean, weren't you talking about some Cali players that would have been available?
I'm just surprised Jaime Sanchez finished high last season.
Yeah.
I'm really surprised. I just thought maybe he would go right there. Still hanging out there.
Yeah. This one's a tough one for me, right? Because, and if you see one of the new rookies coming in, Chris Roybal, technique is really hard to get over. And a guy like Jaime, but he's successful. He's able to be successful with odd technique. How far does that get you when the division gets really, really strong? But for me, maybe that's something out there.
I think you and I are on the same page. I think you and I are on the same page on this because how easy is it to replicate that under pressure? Right? It's one thing when you've got a very easy, smooth motion. Pressure doesn't really affect that. But when you've got 5 or 6 different kinks while you throw, pressure can kind of move that a little bit. So I'm wondering if the captains have kind of latched onto that as well.
Yeah, I think another topic that's going to quickly come up is experience in round play, right? I mean, it's a totally different deal. We talk about it on all of our podcasts. The players tell us all the time, it's just a totally different dynamic. And you think of someone like a Miranda Coy, who seems to play well in round limited games. You know, she's going to be out there. Is that going to be a factor? All right, next pick is in already. Let's go back to Trey.
With the 64th pick, the Pennsylvania Ringers welcome back Elizabeth Tennyson.
Oh, I love this. I think this is a great pickup for Pennsylvania. As Trey just said, coming back to the team that she was just on to win a championship. She was a big part of that, just 26 years old. We all know her story. Terrific person out of the state of Maryland. So Elizabeth Tennyson going to the Pennsylvania Ringers. And again, with the snake draft, they had the last pick in the 4th round. They're going to have the first pick here in the 5th round. So they're going to have another pick coming in right away as well. But great pickup. And now we're starting to finally see some of these top women, their names come off the board. But I really like that pick, though, for Pennsylvania.
Still, though, Miranda Coy still out there. Maya
Yeah.
Cup still out there.
And we've got another pick as Trey getting busy, blazing a path, walking from behind the curtain back to the podium. So the second pick here for the Ringers is in.
Getting my steps in, Jeff. With the 65th pick, the Pennsylvania Ringers select Hunter Yaklin.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I think I'm really liking this. Another good pick, don't you think, for Pennsylvania?
Yeah, so we talked about getting in through the pro qualifier. What about a guy who got in through the pro division? You know, might not have been through pro doubles, but he came in and was picked up as one of the pro singles, one of the leftover to fill that number. Yeah, I think a good pick right now. Through a 9.02 over the pro season, and that's going to start to see. You know, we're going to start to see those kind of low 9s at this point in the draft. So now you might looking at how does he team up with another player, how does he fit into the chemistry, and that's coming into play.
I think one quick thing about Hunter, first half of teams last season, highest PPR in all of teams through the first half of team play. So
Yeah, it
that's,
said he finished at a 9.5 for teams.
Yeah, so he was a player that just kind of relished the team format. So I think that's steal's kind of a strong word, but I think that's a great pick for the Ringers.
Yeah, and of course they have. I mean, we're looking at their table right now. They've got all these stats, right? So how much does their stats in doubles play matter? How much does their stats in round limited play matter? I mean, you know they're pouring through all that right now. So Hunter Yaklin goes to the Pennsylvania Ringers as they, again, have the back-to-back picks with that last pick in the 4th round and the first pick in the 5th round. And, man, we are just moving right along. So we move on from the Pennsylvania Ringers to the Arizona Burn with the second pick here in the 5th round. And we go back to Trey.
With the 66th pick, the Arizona Burn select Jaime Sanchez.
You got your wish.
Hey, I said it.
Off the board.
I said it for Arizona back a couple picks ago, right? I just had a feeling they might take him. They went with Tyler Parent. They pick him up here. I think this is late for him to go. I really do. But I'm glad he finally got on the team.
So Sanchez and Parent, the last two to be added by the Arizona Burn. That'll bring us to a break with the Ohio Aviators on the clock. So more live coverage here in the 5th round from Rock Hill, South Carolina. We're back with more right after this. South Carolina, inside the beautiful Sports and Events Center. 2024 ACL Teams Draft live coverage continues. We are making our way now through the 5th round, and we just saw Jaime Sanchez go to the Arizona Burn. And while we were away, we've got a lot to talk about because the Ohio Aviators pick was in, and we touched on this a little bit earlier as we welcome Wally back to our live coverage. Bella Suprenant picked up here in the 5th round by the Ohio Aviators. And I think the big question, I mean, we all know what type of player she is. I mean, just a terrific player. Availability, how much was she going to be able to play here at the pro level this year? I know that was a big question out there, but the Ohio Aviators say, we're taking her. So they just took Bella Suprenant. Next pick is in, Missouri Mays on the clock. And to hear their pick, let's go back to Trey.
All right, this one's for you, Jeff McCarriger. With the 68th pick, the Missouri Mays select Nate Voyer.
All right, so Nate Voyer, he was one of those names we were talking about earlier that was still out there. Obviously a very familiar name on the circuit. So Nate Voyer out of Stockton, California goes to the Missouri Mays. All right, so let's go back to Bella here, Wally. Again, we talked about this earlier, but, you know, I mean, that was the big question. How much is she going to be available to play, especially in teams? I mean, it takes you away from home, takes you on the road a lot of travel. Great to have her back, and, you know, as long as she can play, that's a great pickup for Ohio at this point.
Yeah, unfortunate situation what happened at the end of last year, missing out on the last 2 team events, you know, putting them in a handicap. But I'm looking at the Aviators team, and they actually got a pretty full roster already. So with them having extra picks at this stage, they can afford to take that risk on. If they lose a pick in this situation, not too big of a hit on them. But if they hit with Isabella Suprenant this late, wow.
And look who's taking the risk on Isabella. You got the Brat Pack in here, right? So they're going to know a little bit more than we know, you know, with Noah Almanza, Trey Birchfield, obviously Gavin Cano as well. So I think they have a little bit more intel for us and maybe less of a risk, but a big pickup this late.
Yep. All right, the Florida Freeze pick is in.
To announce the next pick, please welcome Jeremy Frazier.
Okay, to the Florida Freeze, I'd like to announce Dave Sutton.
All right, Dave Sutton going to the Florida Freeze. And you know what, let's wrap up the Ohio Aviators since we were just talking about them. And Anthony, you bring up a great point here. Noah Almanza, Trey Birchfield, Fisher Hamilton right there at the top of their roster. Matt Abernathy, Gavin Cano they picked up in that trade. Carson Getty, Ryan Tucker, Jeremiah Hector, Mike Hoffman, Evan Vanos, who we were just talking about, who played so well in the Combine, and now Bella Suprenant. So, I mean, Ohio all of a sudden put together a really nice roster.
I do like this squad.
Yeah.
I keep hearing that Abernathy's going to break out and he's going to be really good. I keep saying I'm waiting to see that happen. And he went, you know, or he came in as a part of the 6, rolling over from last season. So that captain said, hey, I want to keep this guy on my roster and not release him to the rest of the field. So I kind of like that squad as it lays out.
What do you think, Mish?
Yeah, I agree. You mentioned the Brat Pack. I think that has a big part of it. I think that they do have some insider information about what's going on behind the scenes. And with picking up Bell in that late round, I'm assuming there's a reason for that. So I'm loving it.
Absolutely. All right, the picks continue to come in. Trey, back to you with the Slingers.
All right. Tony's very nervous to do this himself. So Tony is going to announce the next pick for the California Slingers.
Let's go, Tony.
No,
got this.
He does not want to do this.
Not scripted.
Round 5, pick 70, taking Emily Downer.
Good job, Tony.
That little giggle that he does before he
All right, Emily Downer, just 20 years old, going to the California Slingers. All right, that's your team. What do you think of this pick?
I'm a little surprised, to be honest. I mean, nothing against Emily. I just would have thought you'd have like a Gina Ramirez or Miranda Coy who showed some success last season. And I mentioned Michael Nunez, and maybe they just think no one's going to pick him up because they're not familiar with him since he wasn't here yesterday. But he's a super, super high PPR player. So a little surprised with that pick. Also, Mark Burgess still out there.
I don't get that one.
I
don't get Mark Burgess being out there still.
Top 25 player.
How is Miranda Coy still out there? I mean, we have a shootout qualifier from last year, right?
A good round limited player.
Yeah. I mean, within the women's division, I mean, you're looking at some of these women going before. That one kind of shocks me a little bit. Could be a chemistry thing. How does she mix with our team? Big personality from Miranda Coy. Does that fit with our team chemistry? Could be a factor as well.
And she played really well in the second half of the season last year. I mean, really put
Yes.
together a good second half of the season. Very strong.
I hope I'm not doing this thing where everyone's like, is this guy still available or not? But Justin Carpenter, has his name been mentioned? Is he still available?
I don't remember. We've had so many come so fast, I honestly don't even remember.
Still there?
Yeah. Oh, that's a great point, yeah. All right, let's continue on. Go back to Trey with the next pick.
Another special guest to announce the next pick, introducing Allison Baldwin.
Who's this going to be?
The Carolina Coasters are going with James Baldwin. He's not here, so let's go Coasters.
Perfect. All right, the 7th pick in the 5th round, the Carolina Coasters pick up James Baldwin. All right, let's take a look at the Carolina Coasters roster. I'm not sure we've had a chance to check in on that one lately. So JB, Cameron Holland, Ben Brown, Austin Slowbaum. And, I mean, at the top, obviously, Jamie Graham, Trevor Brooks, Eric Davis. All right, Anthony, what are your thoughts on the Carolina Coasters overall?
Let's rewind 5 years ago. James Baldwin's the captain of that team, right? But we know there's a lot more going on outside of the game, you know, with careers and families and things like that. A player that at one point was at the top of the food chain just can't play as much as our 14-year-old players that throw bags 25 hours a day, you know? So a lot of respect for this guy. I think he's going to bring a lot of experience to the team. Good dude to add to the team. And in my opinion, at this point in the draft, a good pickup, just not outside of talent, but what he can bring to the team experience-wise.
All right, the Texas Bully Baggers pick is in as we go back to the podium.
All right, with pick number 72, the Texas Bully Baggers select Mike Harvey.
Yeah, Mike Harvey's name was still out there as well. So Mike Harvey, very familiar name, out of Chesapeake, Virginia. There you see his stats from last year. He goes to the Texas Bully Baggers. And I guess we're getting down to it, Mish. Let's try and take a look at maybe some of the best available that Michelle still has on her list. Again, we're about halfway through now the 5th round, so we'll only be on the air here through the 5th round and then sign off. And round 6 through 10 will just be online. But all right, Mish, what do you got left? Obviously some big names and maybe some surprises there for you. And you guys have all been talking about Mark Burgess, right?
Yeah, as you can see, Mike Harvey was on my list of top 10 available, so good pickup there. He doesn't just bring talent and experience, but the most positive person there is in the room. So I love having him on a team there. But like as you said, Mark Burgess, what's going on?
Yeah. I mean, Wally, I know this is blowing your mind on this one.
They all have the same data we do. They've all seen the same player play last year. One player on your list, Mish, that I love that stood out for me is Tony Franco Sr. He came up to our station at the push station during the showcase, and he said, "Oh, this is gonna be terrible. I'm not very good at pushes. 6, 6, 6." Man just kept making every single push shot set in front of him. So yeah, Josh Glover out there as well. Didn't really get a chance to shine last year in teams, but a very, very strong player. What are we in round 5? I mean,
yeah. All right, and yet another pick is in as the Timber on the clock.
With pick number 73, the Colorado Timber select Byron Sisson. Welcome back to the Timber.
All right, Byron Sisson back on the Colorado Timber. Just wrapping up, Mish, your best available. Again, still 2 names out there, Miranda Coy and Gina Ramirez. You know, Gina Ramirez won a shootout last year.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what's going on with the female players and what makes them choose which female, but also Maya Cup is still out there. I mean, Maya Cup's high PPR thrower.
Yeah, competitor, good teammate. So again, Byron Sisson going to the Colorado Timber, the Las Vegas High Rollers on the clock next. All right, we're getting to that point, Anthony, where we're starting to see maybe some trends in some of the teams. I don't know, guys, if it's quite deep enough to get winners and losers. I know earlier, I'm not sure you were on set with us when we talked about this earlier. Were you with us when we were talking about the Georgia Sliders and the team that they're putting together? I mean,
take a look.
Noah Wooten, Cameron Belvin, Ryan Smith, Bobby Hunt, Terry Mathis, Duncan Clemmer. You get to the middle part here of these names. Duncan Clemmer, Ryan Wiedenfeld, Josh Holland, a name they picked up in a trade, Trey Hunt, and Tice Cobb.
Yeah, the Wiedenfeld Holland that late on the trade back-to-back, that's interesting.
Yeah,
that's
huge.
Interesting. But I do see some trends in relationships in here. A lot of these people are comfortable with each other and friends, and that could play in.
All right, we'll hit on that more in just a moment, but another pick is in. All right, Trey, back to you.
With pick number 74, welcome team captain Tanner Halbert.
With pick number 74, Las Vegas High Rollers select Donovan Sinelli.
I was wondering when that was going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, I think you were gone. I think you were gone when Bernie was sitting in for you. We were talking about Donovan, and he was a player who I had a chance to follow in the combine. I was pretty impressed with him, 18 years old, and he was one I was surprised maybe didn't go a little bit higher.
Yeah, I mean, I was really, really high on Cole Brewer throughout the whole the qualifier process last year at Worlds. And then whenever Donovan Sinelli and him went toe-to-toe, it came down to the very final point. He hit that final point, and no other person had an eruption of cheer than Donovan Sinelli. Crowd is definitely behind him. A lot of people have respect for this kid. It shows on the court.
The PPR is deceiving. There's a reason why, and it's because he started off as a competitive player and now is a pro in one season.
Yeah, that's
natural talent.
Yeah, I think it's a great pickup this late, don't you think?
Yeah, and Mish nailed it. You know, that stat is deceiving. We were talking to him a little bit earlier, right? And he's like, yeah, my comp level play is in there. I'm not that same player. So, a Florida team, or a Florida guy, picking up a Florida player knows how good he is. He doesn't need to look at a stat like that and then coming through the pro qualifier. He could be a good pickup in round 5.
He was wondering if he was going to get picked up in the first 5 rounds, and I said, where do you live? He said, Florida. I said, do they know you? Oh, they know me. You'll get picked up.
But he does not go to Florida. He goes to Las Vegas. And I was sitting next to Tanner Halbert when we were watching him, so it does not surprise me that Tanner picked him up. I know Tanner liked him as well. All right, the New England Woodchucks, their pick is in. Let's go back to the stage.
All right, for pick number 75, welcome back to the stage, the Woodchucks.
All right, I felt you got it.
Welcome to the Pro Division, Jeremiah.
With the 75th pick, the Woodchucks select Mike McClanahan.
There he is. Mike McClanahan goes to the New England Woodchucks. Now the Chicagoland Spinners will be on the clock, and we are down to our final 5 picks, guys, here on our broadcast. We'll sign off after these 5 rounds are complete, and you can watch the rest of the coverage online, rounds 6 through 10, as it's going to be rapid fire for the rest of the night. Of course, it's been like that all night anyway. All right, so McClanahan going to the Woodchucks. Well, again, I guess, Wally, we'll start with you here. Just 5 picks left. Again, I mean, it's still hard to believe. I mean, we talked about some of these names that still haven't been called, but any other things that you've been really impressed with or surprised with so far?
I mean, I'm right there with you guys on the Sliders bandwagon. I think they're doing a really good job on this draft. I absolutely hated what the Las Vegas High Rollers did last year in their draft. I absolutely love what they're doing this year in the draft. They're getting a lot of strong players early, getting the back end. So if you're going to have wins per matchup, count. You can basically go 4-3, 5-2, whatever. All those wins matter. The High Rollers are making sure they get wins every time.
Real quick, before we go off of the High Rollers, when we pull up, I'm not sure if you can pull up, if you pull up their roster, Mish, Anthony, to Wally's point, this is a really strong roster. We talked about it earlier. It's so important. Everyone has really strong top A-level players, but those mid-level players and the bottom players that you pick up, this is a really well-rounded roster, so I'm with you on that, Wally. Some good moves by the Las Vegas squad. All right, our next pick is in for the Chicagoland Spinners.
With the 76th pick, the Chicagoland Spinners select Zach Lewis.
All right, Zach Lewis going to the Chicagoland Spinners. We are down to just 4 picks left in the first 5 rounds, and that will wrap up our live coverage. So we'll take a quick break. Back with our final 4 picks here on our coverage from Rock Hill right after this. to come in while we were away. We had overall picks number 77 and 78 as the Marauders able to pick up Justin Carpenter. Name Wally, I think you were talking about just a few minutes ago, and Misha, I think you were talking about him as well. And then for the Virginia Cutters, Travis Graven. So now just 2 picks left here in our live coverage. Again, we'll sign off after round 5 wraps up, and then you can watch online the remaining rounds 6 through 10. All right, Anthony, again, all the teams so prepared. These picks came in so fast tonight. I mean, whether it was best available or stats, I don't know what they're looking at back there, but everyone seemed to know exactly how they wanted to fill out their roster this year.
Yeah, that Justin Carpenter pick is, I think, pretty similar to what you're talking about with Mark. I mean, look at this guy. Finished 57th in pro singles. And he was picked after someone who was like 200 and something. So, but another guy that kind of like isn't there mechanically. You know, if you ever seen Justin Carpenter play, it's pretty wild. You know how he's getting movement, but he's getting the job done. So people overlooking demonstrated skills in singles play.
All right, we've got another pick in. The Georgia Sliders. We've been talking about them a lot tonight on the clock, and let's see who they picked up.
With the 79th pick, the Georgia Sliders select Cody Johnson.
All right, the Sliders adding yet another player, so just 1 pick left for us here in our live coverage. Wally, I would love to, as we start to kind of wrap up our coverage, Corey and Chase, if we can put up Wally's best available, I'd love to take a look at that, because I think there are some names on here that all 3 of you have been talking about that you were surprised. Matt Stout did come off, so that one.
Actually, my list hasn't been updated since Bernie took over, but I'll go through a few of them for you guys. I think Bracy Blanton out there. Obviously, we've been talking about Mark Burgess. Justin Dermody was the guy who stood out for me in the showcase as well. I think he was a kind of a lesser-known player, I believe, out of Oregon, but he showed out pretty well in the push station for us. Roy Ferridan, Sean Farrell. I'm sitting there staring at Gabe Dolan. I know he wants to get picked. I mean, we got some good names out here. Who's the last pick going to be, though?
Yeah. All right, Mish. Again, we were talking about Miranda Coy and Gina Ramirez. Obviously, it looks like we're not going to see them in the first 5 rounds yet anyway.
I guess not. I mean, I'm very curious how this ends up. If Mark Burgess doesn't go, I mean, I'll keep saying his name. And I misspoke. He was top 24 in PPR, not in singles, but 65 in singles. So
yeah.
Let's see.
Top 65 player in the world. All right, with the 16th pick. So the final pick that we'll announce for you tonight here in the 5th round, the Kentucky Colonels on the clock, and let's go to Trey.
Before we get to the pick, I just want to give one last round of applause for everybody behind the scenes that helped put tonight's draft live coverage together. So please put a round of applause together. There's a lot of hard-working people behind the scenes. 4 great analysts right here on the stage, as well as everybody else dedicated. Bernie's not on the table right now, but Bernie did an amazing job as well. So thank you all. We appreciate you tuning in. To announce the last 2 picks, I'll turn it over to Mr. Guy.
All right, so this is going to close it up for the night. So with the final pick on the broadcast, with the 80th pick of the draft, the Colonels are taking Mark Burgess. There you go.
There we got him.
And then we're going to throw a bonus pick in real quick.
With the 81st pick, the Kentucky Colonels will take Bracy Blanton.
All right, so again, back-to-back picks for the Kentucky Colonels to wrap up the 5th round and start us in the 6th round as they get Mark Burgess, finally comes off the list, and then Bracy Blanton as well. All right, guys, as we wrap up our coverage, Wally, I'll start down with you. Just some overall thoughts on the night here, at least through the first 5 rounds.
I mean, way more trades than I thought. I thought we would get a few, but I mean, I think there were more trades than actual people filled out on the team. I mean, what, over 13, 15 trades? It's just crazy how many trades we saw early.
8 of the first 10 were trades, yeah.
But yeah, big shocker right there. But I think for the most part, the people that initiated these trades did well.
Mish, any general thoughts here before we sign off?
Do you think they just chose Mark because we wouldn't stop talking about it?
Well, that did happen a little bit last year. Remember, it didn't. Remember, it seemed like every time you were like, "I can't believe this person's still on." Then within a couple of picks, they come off. But I'm sure, yeah.
Well, we just want to update our spreadsheet, so the captain's got to help us out here.
All right, Mish. Any trends that you've seen, or any general thoughts here before we sign off?
I think everyone did a really good job. I mean, the fact that it was moving this quick means they were prepared, and so I think that shows a lot about how serious they're taking this draft, and it's showing.
Georgia Sliders, we talked about them a lot tonight. I hate it to just point them out because I feel like there's a lot of teams that have made some really good picks, but any general thoughts out of the teams?
Yeah, we definitely expected this young talent to go early. It did. It went is just like we thought. Definitely a lot of value into the speed control game. You know, I think we saw the first 16 or 17 picks. Everybody has a mature roll bag, a cut bag, the ability to clean up, which is really important. So I think that's where the game is going to be trending. And as far as the trades, I think we can thank Jimmy Humans for that. I think he kind of got it started, and then the ball just kept rolling. You know, a guy like Jimmy Humans got that going. Would you say 13, 14, whatever many trades there were?
I lost track.
Yeah, it kind of started there. He was the root cause of all that.
Well, Wally, we'll give the final comment to you because I think it was you and I who kind of talked about this earlier, but really stay tuned online for rounds 6 through 10 because this is where it gets more difficult. And Mish, you talked about this tonight too. With every game mattering this season, these picks now in rounds 6 through 10, Wally, they're going to be huge.
Yeah, this is where you're going to try and find that sleeper, somebody that is on nobody else's radar that could sneak you 6, 7, 8 wins throughout the season.
Yeah.
If you could find somebody this late in the draft that will have a winning record, it could be the difference between making the playoffs and not making the playoffs.
Absolutely. I mean, it's not the best out of 7 anymore, like you were saying, Mish. I mean, every game matters, so these picks are going to be huge. Well, that will wrap things up with our 2024 ACL Teams coverage. Thank you so much to Wally, to Michelle, to Anthony, to Bernie. Huge shout-out behind the scenes to Corey Russell and Chase Hunter, and obviously everyone with the ACL. You just heard Trey mention it. We can't start naming names because then we get in trouble as always, but there are so many people behind the scenes that spent a lot of time this weekend putting all this together. So congratulations on a great event to everybody. Again, not done yet. Round 6 through 10 you can follow online. But for everybody here inside the HQ here in Rock Hill, South Carolina, thanks for joining us tonight. And we say so long, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Michigan Marauders select Gina Ramirez. Chicagoland Spinners, you're on the clock.